Chapter 152. He was very strong, just as she remembered. Arrogant, domineering, unable to refuse or break free. She was more like a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. She didn't want to go back to the past, where every day was hopeless. Baya pursed her lips tightly and didn't let him in. The more she didn't let him in, the more she resisted, the more he wanted to conquer her. Gu Lingqing kissed her more and more passionately, and his big palm went under her skirt. Baya opened her eyes wide in fear. Her lips were blocked by him, and she couldn't make a sound. She was not as strong as him, so she couldn't break free at all. He wanted her to fall in love with him again, but what about after that? What about after that? He lost his memory and completely forgot about her. She loved him deeply, but could only watch him love another woman deeply. She became the target of public criticism, but he could let go of her so freely. If Su Jiran taught her to be sad and angry, then Gu Lingqing taught her what despair was. Despair to the point that she was still seriously ill. A doctor couldn't cure himself. This saying was true. During the day, she could still pretend to be healthy and talk cheerfully. Late at night, facing the dark air and the silence of no one, all her thoughts and emotions returned to the day she cut her wrist 3 years ago. There was only one person alive, and no one could warm her cold heart. When she died, she was still alone, lying in the dark world and continuing to enjoy loneliness. She was living like a ghost, looking into other people's lives. However, in her eyes, her life had already ended when she cut her wrist 3 years ago. She just wanted to live a perfect life that others wanted her to live. However, that heart was already broken. Gu Lingqing reached in cruelly. Baya only felt ashamed and angry. She didn't move, looking at him coldly, handsome and cold. Gu Lingqing felt that she was no longer struggling, and looked at Baya with his deep eyes. When he saw her eyes, it was like the surface of a frozen lake, full of transparent coldness. Is the bureau chief going to use force? Of course, you have a high position and power. You can have any woman you want. Even if you are strong, I don't have the ability to sue you, right? Baya said coldly. Do you think he's using force? Gu Lingqing asked back. Don't tell me you think I'm enjoying it now? Baya said sarcastically. Then let me enjoy it, Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. He didn't know why he was so crazy about her. In fact, when he saw her on the train 3 years ago, he thought it was crazy to invite her to his place. He had a special feeling for her. He couldn't figure out what this feeling was. Every time he dreamed of the girl saying sadly, Gu Lingqing, come back. He would feel an extreme pain in his heart, so much so that he couldn't sleep. It was so painful that he wanted to cut his heart out. He wanted to find the answer. His parents were preventing him from finding the answers, his friends were preventing him from finding the answers, and even she was preventing him from finding the answers. They were all trying to stop him from finding the answer, but he had to get it. Even if it was self-destruction. Gu Lingqing kissed her. Baya pursed her lips tightly. He sucked on her lips forcefully until they were red and swollen. His fingers were mercilessly possessive. He stared at her every expression, wanting to see her emotions. But there was none. She stared back at him, her eyes filled with unyielding pride and arrogance. She was a woman with a very sharp temper. He held her chin and said with hatred, didn't you say that even if I use force, you can't do anything to me? Do you want me to be strong or not? I don't want to, Baya said without thinking. Then cooperate well, Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baya felt like she was being torn apart by him. For more than 3 years, she hadn't had any other man, so she only felt pain. Other than her body, there was also her heart. She didn't want to cry. The mist blurred her eyes and gathered into tears, flowing out from the corners of her eyes. There was no emotion in his eyes, no confusion, only coldness. What did Gu Lingqing, who had no memory, experience in the past 3 years to become so cruel and heartless? Baya went from crying to wailing without any image. If Gu Lingqing hadn't lost his memory, he wouldn't have treated her like this. But there were no ifs in the world. A trace of softness flowed through Gu Lingqing's eyes, instantly merging into the dark color of his eyes. He leaned over and kissed her tears. Her tears were salty. He kissed her, from the corner of her eyes, to her cheeks, and then to her lips. Even his attacks became gentler, and he let go of her ankles. He let her sit on him, and they sat face to face. He looked at her deeply, his eyes dark, but not as sharp as before. Baya thought of her wailing and felt a little embarrassed. She wasn't a little girl, and it wasn't her first time. Why did she make herself look like a young girl? She turned her face away. What she was sad about was not that she was forced to have sex with him, but that she didn't know where the Gu Lingqing in her heart was now. She couldn't find him when she was alive, and she couldn't find him when she died. She just quietly shed tears. Is it a safe period? Gu Lingqing asked in a low voice. Even if she was, she would only say no. Don't get it in there. Okay, Gu Lingqing responded. Baya didn't know when it ended. It was hard to say. On the first day she returned to China, something indescribable happened with him, which was far beyond her expectations. She couldn't go on like this. Gu Lingqing was very fierce during the process, and after the process, he probably felt that he had gone too far, so he was gentle when he wiped her tears. Baya was angry at his overbearing attitude, so she didn't want him to wipe her tears. She pushed his hand away and wiped it herself. Did you feel better after that? Gu Lingqing asked. Baya rolled her eyes at him. He knew that she didn't feel good at the beginning. She didn't want to answer his question. Chief, we can go now. I want to take a shower. Is there a connection between you taking a shower and letting me go? Gu Lingqing frowned. Baya threw a pillow at him. Gu Lingqing caught it easily. You have a bad temper. He put the pillow behind her back and glanced at her. His eyes were deep and unfathomable. When he came out at the end, he suddenly felt that she was the one he had been looking for, which made his heart feel a lot more at ease. He was sure that before he lost his memory, he must have loved her very much. What about her? Did she really not like him like what she said in her story? When he thought of this, his heart felt like it was being held tightly by a hand, and he had difficulty breathing. Chapter 153. Baya was so angry that she couldn't speak. His behavior now was like selling her, and after selling her, he still asked her what she was going to do. What could she do? What could she do? Sue him? She could deceive the world, but she couldn't deceive herself. She couldn't bear it. She couldn't bear to see him discredited, upset, and hurt him a little bit. Even if he had forgotten her. Even if there was only Zhou Hailan in his heart now. Baya felt her face was hot, and then realized that she had cried again. She wiped away her tears handsomely and looked at Gu Lingqing, whose eyes were as dark as ink. His eyes were bottomless, and she couldn't see his expression clearly. Why are you crying? Gu Lingqing asked, and finally frowned. The more Baya thought about it, the angrier she became. She threw the pillow at him again. He continued to catch it, quietly and calmly put the pillow on the head of the bed again, and squinted at her red eyes. Forget each other in Jianghu. There are some things that you won't be in danger if you don't touch them. Now Gu Lingqing is like the sun in the sky. You will become the greatest person one day. That's what everyone hopes for. Baya said lightly. Everyone, including you? Gu Lingqing asked in a deep voice. Of course, there was no hatred between you and me before. I once had a boyfriend who became the greatest person in the world. When I become a grandmother, I will brag about it to my grandson with great honor, Baya said without thinking. Gu Lingqing sat down on the sofa and didn't speak. His quiet eyes were like X-rays, examining her. Baya didn't dare to look at him, nor did she dare to speak again, for fear of exposing something. The atmosphere was tense and strange, and quiet and strange, like a flood of pressure hitting her heart. After an hour, Gu Lingqing got up. Baya looked at him nervously. He didn't say anything, gathered his clothes, and left her room. Baya fell on the bed softly. He had left, but his smell still lingered in the room, filling the tip of the nose. Baya recalled that distant yesterday. There was a mighty and unyielding soldier who used his flesh and blood to protect her, to protect the people he wanted to protect. He was always unafraid of life and death, unafraid of sharpness, fighting on the front lines. He was a person who could give people warmth everywhere. Do not give warmth, but fate. What a terrible fate. Baya was angry. She stood up and smashed the ashtray, table lamp, and television in the hotel. Finally, she lost all her strength and sat on the sofa. She lowered her head and her shoulders trembled as she cried bitterly. After crying, she still felt heartache. Being too rational, too clear, and too insightful about life would lead to despair. Her illness could not be cured. Crying, she took out a small white bottle from her bag, poured out a white pill, and threw it into her mouth. She opened the mineral water bottle on the bedside table, ate it, and climbed onto the bed. The medicine that forced her to sleep was not prepared for patients with strong willpower. It was for herself, so she carried it with her. Gradually, Baya fell asleep. She slept until dawn. When she opened her eyes, she saw the mess in the room. Her illness had acted up again yesterday. Baya lowered her eyes and called the front desk rationally. I will be checking out in an hour. There was an accident in the room. It's best to let the room manager come and take a look. I will settle the hotel's losses when I check out. She walked into the bathroom quietly. She brushed her teeth, washed her face, put on makeup, combed her hair, changed into this year's Chanel spring camel trench coat, and carried her LV bag. When she was packing her luggage, the room manager came over and saw the room full of debris. Did you get robbed? I can call the police. No need, let me calculate and I will pay according to the price, Baya said calmly, zipping up her luggage. Is it still raining outside? It's fine, the customer service manager said respectfully. Okay. Baya carried her luggage out, pressed the elevator button, and went down. I'm the guest in room 1809. I'm checking out now. Baya handed the room card and deposit slip to the service desk. She knew that the room manager wanted to register the damaged items in the room, so she took out her phone and sent a message to Mu Shaoxing. I will go to the research institute later today. Okay, I have arranged a proposal for you. You can come and see if it is reasonable. If you think it is reasonable, sign it, Mu Shaoxing replied. Okay. Miss, the total is 15,600, the cashier said. Can I pay with Alipay? Baya asked. Yes. When Baya opened the payment platform, a hand holding a bank card handed over. Her fee can be paid over here. Baya looked at the man next to her in surprise. He was tall and strong with fair skin. He wore a suit and black-rimmed glasses, looking mature and steady. However, she did not know him. The man saw Baya's doubt and said with a smile, I am someone sent by Mr. Gu. Which Mr. Gu? Baya quickly searched for information in her mind. She did not know many people with the surname Gu. The name Gu Lingqing flashed through her mind. Gu Lingqing, Mr. Gu, the man answered directly. Baya did not want others to know about her relationship with Gu Lingqing. She lowered her voice and said, I don't need him to pay. Miss Bai is a smart person. You also studied psychology. You should know Mr. Gu's temper. If he wants to pay, no one can stop him, Reynolds said with a smile. Baya frowned and turned around. Suspicion flashed in her eyes. She did not want to be entangled, so she chose to check out and change places. What did Gu Lingqing mean? She was confused and walked to the door with her luggage. Four tall and strong men stood in front of her. Baya turned her head and looked at Reynolds. There was a flame of anger in her eyes. Reynolds, on the other hand, was calm. He took the deposit returned by the waiter and handed it to Baya. Baya pushed his hand away. What do you mean? Miss Bai, get in the car first. You know you have to go. I'm afraid you still don't know Mr. Gu's power. Even if you disappear here, there will be no evidence. Reynolds said with a smile. His words were full of killing intent. This man was a smiling tiger. Baya walked out. The heart in her hand was snatched away by Reynolds's men and put into the trunk. Baya exhaled, adjusted her breathing, and got in the Lincoln Stretch Edition. Gu Lingqing was not in the car. Reynolds sat opposite her and negotiated directly. Mr. Gu likes you very much. He wants you to be the woman behind his back for a year. You can discuss any conditions you have. What? Baya was very, very shocked. Gu Lingqing actually found someone to ask her to be the woman behind his back. What did the woman behind his back mean? He already had a fiancée. Chapter 154. He really stepped on her bottom line every single time. Baya forced herself to calm down. I'm sorry, I don't lack money and I don't want to sell myself. I have a decent job and I don't want to be someone's woman. Ms. Bai, you know that your friend Lu Shuang is working in the special forces now. Maybe she's a spy or something. It's hard to say, Reynolds said with a smile. There were smile lines in his eyes, but it made people feel cold. What he meant was that if they wanted to kill Lu Shuang, it would be as easy as killing an ant. Moreover, they could also destroy Lu Shuang's entire family. How did Gu Lingqing become like this? He was very different from the Gu Lingqing in her mind. What had he been through in the past 3 years? Baya was too angry. She clenched her fists tightly, and the veins on the back of her hands popped. She was trying to hold it in, and even her gums were trembling. Ms. Bai, don't be angry. Mr. Gu is a good person. At least his private life is clean. He doesn't look for women to solve his physical problems, Reynolds said. What did he mean by not looking for women to solve his physical problems? He meant that he had looked for women to solve his physical problems. That was right. Gu Lingqing was already 33. It was normal for him to look for women to solve his physical problems. But this woman, she didn't want to do that. She would rather not have anything to do with him. As far as I know, Gu Lingqing is running for president now. Aren't you worried that these scandals will spread and he won't have anything? Baya tried to negotiate and looked at Reynolds coldly. Mr. Gu doesn't plan to compete for the presidency this time. It seems like you care about Mr. Gu a lot, Reynolds said meaningfully. He doesn't want to compete? Baya was surprised. He was the most popular candidate. No matter in terms of power, wealth, or support from the people, he would definitely become the president. Forget it. Why did she care about this? It had nothing to do with her. I advise Ms. Bai to get what she wants. You'll only be crushed if you try to hit a rock with an egg. You'll also drag others down with you. However, if you change your way of thinking, you can take the opportunity to get what you want. 1 year is not a long time, but you can save a lifetime of hard work. More importantly, this kind of relationship was secretive, and no one could know about it. It wouldn't affect your future marriage and children, so why wouldn't Ms. Bai do it? Besides, Mr. Gu is the most popular man in country A. You won't lose out if you follow him. Who knows, you might even be able to make him fall in love with you and become a first-rank wife in the future. Currently, Mr. Gu has a fiancée, but he has no intention of getting married. You still have a chance, Reynolds negotiated. Baya was not stupid. She knew too well the difference between the strong and the weak. I want to talk to Gu Lingqing, Baya said directly. Reynolds saw that he had already said what he needed to say. After getting out of the car, he dialed a number with a solemn expression. After a while, he said, Mr. Gu can talk to you. Let's go now. As the car moved forward, Baya looked out of the window. It seemed that they were going to the blue sky courtyard. She guessed that the place was probably where Gu Lingqing usually rested. After driving for more than an hour, they arrived at the blue sky courtyard. Lieutenant Colonel Song stood at the door and said to Baya expressionlessly, "The chief is in a meeting now." He will come over later. He asked you to wait for a while. Baya didn't say anything. She went into the villa and sat on the sofa. Reynolds's men took her luggage down and placed it on the side of the sofa. Baya picked up her phone and browsed through the news. There was an explosion at a chemical plant in Zhejiang City last night, and more than 200 people died. It was a huge sensation. Human life was really fragile. The families of those people would be devastated. However, no matter how sad they were, they still had to live. However, in their hearts, they would always feel like they had lost a piece of meat. Someone pushed the door open, and the light fell on her face. Baya subconsciously looked at the door. Gu Lingqing walked in and handed the windbreaker on his wrist to Lieutenant Colonel Song beside him. Inside was a white shirt and a black suit. He was rigid, meticulous, cold, and abstinent. His face was still expressionless, so deep that no one could guess what he was thinking. He sat opposite her, his body straight, and his eyes were sharp. Reynolds said you wanted to talk to me? I think Mr. Gu can have many women. Why force a woman who is unwilling? Baya said coldly. You want to know the reason? Gu Lingqing's eyes became colder. First, to be honest, you are not my type, but I dated you before. I feel very curious. I want to know why I liked you at that time. Second, since we have already had sex, and we had sex yesterday, there is no need for me to look for other women. Third, I feel that you have a lot of things to hide. Since you are not willing to tell me, I can only slowly find out what you are hiding as we get along. Fourth, yesterday was quite comfortable. To a certain extent, you fit my fantasy of women. It is time for me to have a woman. Is there anything else you want to ask? Gu Lingqing was simple and direct. It was obviously a very ambiguous and obscure question, but he said it openly and in a businesslike manner. Haven't you realized that I don't like you? Baya said cruelly. A cold glint flashed across Gu Lingqing's eyes. It was a coldness that could freeze 3 feet. Does it have anything to do with me? He looked at her with a deep and determined gaze. There was no warmth inside at all. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. Other than being cold, he was still cold. He was so mean that it made people's hair stand on end. It was as if she had encountered a robber and there was nothing she could do. I want 100% freedom. You can't restrict my work and life, Baya said helplessly. If you come with me, you won't have 100% freedom. I called you and I have to come back here. I don't have too much time to waste with you, Gu Lingqing said coldly and stood up. Baya stood up too. You can't interfere with my life and work. Can you do that? Also, a year is too long. 3 months. Stop pestering me after 3 months. Stop pestering me? She was really heartless to him. Gu Lingqing turned around and held Baya's chin. You don't have the right to negotiate with me. Baya was annoyed. She pushed his hand away and looked at him sharply. Your so-called right is to stand at a high place and trample on other people's pride, making them obey you unconditionally. What right do you have to do all this? If you force them, they will only resist and you won't be able to win their hearts. Gu Lingqing's cold eyes narrowed and were dyed red. Your heart, do you think it's worthy for me to win it? I just want to know about the past that you are hiding. I'm not interested in you personally. Baya pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Chapter 155. She understood. Gu Lingqing wanted her to be his woman, not because he liked her, not because he loved her, but because he wanted to know about his hidden past from her. He was testing her, examining her, and observing her. Her heart still hurt badly. His parents didn't want him to know about his past because they were afraid that he would mess with her and ruin his future. She didn't want him to know about her past because she didn't want to be a hindrance to him. Their so-called protection had now turned Gu Lingqing into a cold-blooded and heartless person. I don't want to wash it, Baya said stubbornly. She turned her face away, feeling annoyed and frustrated. Gu Lingqing's long arms hooked her into his arms. I'll help you wash it. Baya twisted her body, trying to break free. His arms were like iron pincers. His hot breath fell on her cold face. She couldn't break free at all, so she gave up and sighed. I'll wash it myself. You can choose any room here and live here in the future. I'll come back when I'm free. I'm usually very busy, so I'm only free for 1 or 2 days a month. The rest of the time, you'll always be free, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice, looking at her with a burning gaze, as if answering her previous request. Baya heard him say that he was only free for 1 or 2 days a month, which was only 24 hours a year. It didn't sound so hard to accept. I've already told you about my past. We haven't known each other for a long time. You can calculate this. From the time we completed the mission to save the pregnant woman to the time you got into trouble, it was at most half a year. Moreover, we broke up a long time ago, Baya explained. Whether what you said is true or not, I'll judge for myself. Gu Lingqing didn't believe her. Within a year, don't let others find out about our relationship. In front of others, even if we meet, pretend that we don't know each other, okay? Baya requested. Gu Lingqing looked at her sharply. So many women wanted to have a relationship with him, but she was so repulsed. Why? Okay, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. If a tree is strong, it will break. 1 year later, we will all be fine. Baya furrowed her brows and lowered her eyes. Her long eyelashes covered the window of her soul, hiding too many emotions. Go take a shower. Gu Lingqing loosened his hands. He didn't answer the question directly. He turned around and entered the first room without giving Baya a chance to stare at him. Baya carried her luggage and pushed open the door to the second room. The second room was empty, but it was also clean and spotless. There was also a separate bathroom in the room. Baya felt that this room was not bad, so she pulled her luggage and walked in. However, she couldn't live here all the time. It felt like she was being kept. She didn't want to establish an unequal relationship with Gu Lingqing at the beginning. She had her dignity that she needed to maintain. Even if she had no choice but to stay by his side. Baya just took the clothes inside and went into the bathroom. She had just changed her clothes today, so they were clean. The warm water fell from the top of her head and washed away her thick makeup. She closed her eyes. After showering for a long time, she went out of the bathroom, dried her hair, put on her clothes and opened the door. Gu Lingqing sat on the sofa and looked at the news on his phone. He was cold and expressionless. It was hard to tell what he was thinking. However, he wasn't wearing the suit that he had worn when he first came in. Instead, he was wearing a white bathrobe. He was less reserved and had more of a mature man's charm. Feeling Baya's gaze, he looked at her with his clear eyes. He was still deep and indifferent. Did you put on makeup when we first met? No. Baya was simple and straightforward. You look better without makeup. If you had put on makeup, I don't think I would have fallen for you, Gu Lingqing said indifferently. Baya raised the corner of her mouth. If I had known, would have put on makeup. Gu Lingqing's indifferent eyes flashed with displeasure and he stood up. Baya stood there stiffly. She didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Gu Lingqing walked in front of her, lifted her chin and slowly bent down. His handsome face enlarged in front of her eyes. Baya looked down. She didn't reject or respond. Gu Lingqing didn't kiss her. He looked at her eyes and asked, did I take the initiative in the past or did you take the initiative? You. Baya looked at him and said. His expression didn't change much. I guessed it was the same. However, to be able to make him take the initiative, he should really like this girl in front of him. She was able to argue her way out under his coercion. He didn't think that she was someone who would give up on him because of danger. What position do you like? Gu Lingqing's voice deepened. Baya blushed. She turned her face away and didn't say anything. Gu Lingqing held her hand. Her hand was very small and his palm could completely contain it. This time, you'll be the guide. Tell me, what did we do before? Gu Lingqing looked at her and asked. With her psychological acumen, she knew that his purpose was to recall some memories. However, she couldn't do it. I forgot. Baiya directly refused. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth, but there was no smile in his eyes. Did you do it too much and forget it, or are you worried that I will remember something and forget it? It's because it's been too long and you forgot it. Baiya corrected him. Then continue to relive it. Gu Lingqing carried her and walked to his room. He put her on his bed and kissed her lips. Baiya felt that his temperature was too high. It was so high that she felt hot, so hot that she couldn't think. She wanted to push him, but to him, her strength was like cotton, soft and soft. When Gu Lingqing was kissing her, he unbuttoned her shirt and covered it with his big palms. He looked at Baiya deeply. Baiya frowned. She couldn't see any lust in him. He only looked at her and explored. She couldn't get into the mood. She didn't want to. However, after all, she had given birth to a child. The pain was only at the beginning. Soon, she could adapt to his presence. She pursed her lips and didn't make a sound. He couldn't see her love and enjoyment. He was a little annoyed and bit her shoulder. Ah. Baiya was in pain and let out a soft moan. Gu Lingqing kissed her lips, lifted the tip of her tongue and kissed her forcefully. Baiya was almost out of breath from his kiss. She pushed his shoulder. She was already annoyed that he bit her and it was very painful. Gu Lingqing let go of her. His voice was a little hoarse, and there was finally a strange misty and seductive look in his eyes. Baiya, louder. I like your voice. She didn't let him have his way. She hugged the back of his neck and bit his shoulder. Gu Lingqing was excited. Did they interact like this in the past, biting each other? He seems to like it a lot. Imagining. Chapter 156. Baiya saw that he was getting more and more excited. She remembered that she was not in the safe period, so she pressed against his chest. Gu Lingqing's eyes locked onto her pink face, and a warm electric current ran through his spine. He held on to his last bit of rationality and lowered his head to kiss her lips. His muffled groan fell into her mouth. Her breathing was also a little unstable, and her eyes were unfocused. Slowly, she calmed down. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth. His smile was very faint. If one did not look closely, they would not be able to see it at all. You say no, but your body is very honest. I'm talking about a woman like you. Baiya did not like the way he described her. It was cold and seemed to be ambiguous, but more like mockery. She also smiled, but her eyes were indifferent. Have you ever heard of this saying? In the case of a great disparity in strength, it is better to enjoy than to resist. You mean, you feel very comfortable? Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya followed his words and said, You serve me very well. You have a sharp tongue. Gu Lingqing got up. He was in a good mood and walked towards the bathroom. Baiya sat up and wiped her body. However, there was still his smell on her body, which made her feel uncomfortable. She went back to her room and took a shower again. The shirt she wore earlier was wrinkled. She changed into a J.K. dress and came out with her suitcase. Gu Lingqing had also come out. He changed into a dark suit and a purple shirt. He had regained his usual elegance and coldness, as if the wildness just now was just a dream. He glanced at her suitcase, and his eyes, which had relaxed because of the relief, became a little colder. You can stay here. It's too far from my workplace. It's not convenient. Baiya wanted to negotiate with him. Which villa near your company do you like? I'll buy it again. Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. I don't lack money. Baiya refused. Take it even if you don't lack money. Your workplace is in the research institute, right? I'll find a house nearby for you. Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baya scrutinized him. He wanted to give her a house because he saw their relationship as one of employment. He used her, and he gave her money. There was no fairness in it, not to mention the continuation of their relationship. She wanted to stand on an equal footing, but the world was not something she could do as she pleased. It was the people who stood on a higher level who could do whatever they wanted. Thank you. Baya didn't refuse anymore. His eyes became even colder. At most, he would return everything to him after a year. Gu Lingqing stood up. I'm going to the military now. I'll contact you later. Baya nodded. After Gu Lingqing walked out of the door, she sat on the sofa and looked at the air in silence. The look in her eyes became more and more vague. He rested for an hour, ate lunch outside, and went to the research institute in the afternoon. Mu Xiaoxing's research institute was quite large. It was located in a university and had 4 floors. Mu Xiaoxing was very happy to see her. He greeted her. Did you sleep well last night? So, Baya replied. He. Mu Xiaoxing was used to Baya's cold attitude. It was your ex-husband who drove your friend back yesterday, right? He seemed to be very concerned about you and kept asking me about you. Baya didn't want to know about Su Jiran's situation. My friend was safely sent back to the military, right? She should have been safely sent back to the military, Mu Xiaoxing said with a troubled expression. Baya heard something strange. What do you mean by should have been safely sent back to the military? The military doesn't allow cars from the outside to enter, so they could only leave your friend at the gate. I wanted to tell you, but I was worried that you would be asleep and it wouldn't be good to wake you up. I thought that you would definitely come to work this morning, so I wanted to tell you at work, Mu Xiaoxing explained. He explained. Baya immediately called Lu Shuang. Lu Shuang only picked up after 5 rings. Shuangmiao, are you okay? Baya asked worriedly. Yeah, I got drunk yesterday. Fortunately, Chief Gu went out for a meeting and came to the military very late. I slept the whole morning, I'm fine. How about you? Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Yeah, I'm already at work. You go ahead with your work. I'll contact you later, Baya said. Don't be late. Let me tell you, there's a party in the military tonight. You can bring your family. Come with me, haha. Help me find someone. If I can't get married, I'll become a leftover female warrior. There are too many leftovers. You're the best. Baya said jokingly. Ha ha ha, well said. I've been working hard and I've been defeated. But I'm puzzled. I'm not bad looking. Although I'm carefree, I'm approachable. My family and work are not bad. Why don't I have a boyfriend? Depressing. Lu Shuang said helplessly. I'll accompany you tonight. That's all for now. I'll go to work first. Baya hung up the phone, pulled out a chair and sat opposite Mu Xiaoxing. Tell me, what do you want me to do? It's like this. I know our small research institute can't keep a swan like you. You came to help me because you kept your promise. I can't take advantage of you for nothing. You just need to handle 24 cases for me. After 24 cases, you'll be free. Take a look at the contract. I'll give you a special contract. Mu Xiaoxing handed the contract to Baya. Baya glanced at it. There was basically no problem. The one-time fee was 1 million. I have 2 questions. Why 24 cases? Baya asked. I feel that 5 years is too much for you. I've only sponsored you for 2 years. So, I'll let you work for me for 2 years. The performance evaluation of the Research Institute is 12 cases a year. So, as long as you complete 24 cases for me, you'll be free, Mu Xiaoxing explained. Cancel the fee. I'll sign the contract, Baya said without hesitation. You don't need the fee. Mu Xiaoxing was surprised. You also said that the 24 cases are just to repay you for 2 years of funding. Since it's funding, then why do you have to charge? Mu Xiaoxing, some favors can't be measured with money. When I first looked for you, I was already at my wit's end. You can help me when I was at my wit's end. This feeling is more precious than 1,000,000. Baiya revealed a smile. Although the smile was faint, it was especially beautiful. Mu Xiaoxing's heart beat faster. Okay, I'll let the personnel department draw up a new contract. I hope after 24 cases, we can still be friends. I'll help if I can. Baiya said readily. Lu Shuang called again. Baiya answered. Little Bai, does Gu Lingqing know that you're back? It's so strange. He never talked to me for 3 years. Now he asked someone to call me to his office. What's the matter? I'm so scared. Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Chapter 157. Girl Shuang, he might ask you about our past. Remember, you don't know anything, okay? Baiya reminded. No way, he's asking about this? Lu Shuang didn't believe it. It's best if he doesn't ask. If he does, just tell him you don't know anything, Baiya reminded again. Oh. That's all for now. I'm going to confiscate phones here, Lu Shuang said. He hung up the phone and passed it to Gu Lingqing's orderly. She was brought to Gu Lingqing's office. Gu Lingqing sat in front of his desk, looking at the air and thinking. Sir, Dr. Lu is here, Lieutenant Colonel Song reported. Gu Lingqing came back to her senses. Come in. Lieutenant Colonel Song pushed the door open. Lu Shuang walked in with a confused look and looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. However, Gu Lingqing was expressionless and her eyes were unfathomable. Lu Shuang couldn't tell what was going on. Sit. Gu Lingqing's simple words were full of pressure. Lu Shuang sat opposite Gu Lingqing. He lowered his head and twisted his fingers. Don't be nervous. I just want to ask you a few questions. How much do you know about me and Baiya? Gu Lingqing asked directly. Lu Shuang opened his eyes wide and looked at Gu Lingqing. His eyeballs were rolling. Little Bai had guessed it right. Gu Lingqing was asking about the matter between him and Little White. Lu Shuang raised his eyebrows. I know a little. Why did we break up? Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya is very tight-lipped. There are many things that she didn't want to bring trouble to her friends. What I know is that you two used to have a good relationship. You loved Baiya very much. Once again, Baiya went missing for a week. During the week that Baiya went missing, you and Su Shaoling got engaged. On the second day of your engagement, Baiya was released. She didn't have her little finger, and you chopped it off. From then on, Baiya became even more eccentric. She even gave up her job and left me to become a prosecutor. I don't know what happened after I left City A. Lu Shuang didn't want to talk about Baiya's suicide. Whenever she thought of it, her heart would ache. I love her very much. Gu Lingqing savored these words and narrowed his eyes. Of course you love her. When you and Baiya met, Baiya was still Su Jiran's wife. You insisted on Baiya being with you. Your love has gone beyond ethics, Lu Shuang said with a sigh. When I was with her, she was still Su Jiran's wife? Gu Lingqing was shocked. He shouldn't be such an irrational person. How could he fall for a married woman? There must be some unknown secrets. Yes, I'm sure of that. When you two had sex for the first time, Baiya hadn't divorced yet. Actually, it's my fault. Su Jiran got hold of my weakness and threatened Baiya not to divorce. Otherwise, you two would have gotten married a long time ago. By the way, there's one more thing you might not know. Baiya and Su Jiran weren't husband and wife, Lu Shuang said straightforwardly. She was a little annoyed that she didn't know much about them at that time. Otherwise, she could give an example to show how much Gu Lingqing loved Baiya. Weren't husband and wife? Gu Lingqing looked down to hide the strange emotion in her eyes. Yes, you often came to see Baiya at that time. Baya lived at my place. Every time, in order to make space for you, I would make an excuse to go out and play mahjong. Then, you would stay there for the whole night. You can figure out what you would do in the whole night, Lu Shuang hinted. Gu Lingqing cleared her throat. He could imagine what a man and a woman could do alone in the whole night. What else do you know? Gu Lingqing asked. Originally, the military special recruitment was specially set up for Baya. I didn't expect Su Shaoling and me to join. Baya became a prosecutor instead. I don't know anything else. Baya likes to keep everything in her heart. Chief, why are you asking about this? Lu Shuang asked in confusion. I just want to know something that I don't know, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Oh, Chief, please don't tell Baya about what I told you. She just told me not to tell you anything and asked me to pretend that I don't know anything, Lu Shuang begged. Gu Lingqing's eyes flashed with fierceness. Pretend that you don't know anything? Lu Shuang saw that Gu Lingqing didn't look good. She was afraid that she would hurt Baya, so she quickly said, I think Baya still loves you. She's that kind of person. She wants to save her face. She was the same before. She loved you so much, but she asked me not to tell you. Think about it. If she doesn't love you, why would she be afraid to tell you about the past? She must be hiding something. Gu Lingqing's eyes were dark. She didn't say anything. Lu Shuang asked tentatively, does Chief still like Xiao Bai? After all, you were so in love with each other. You seem to like to ask questions. Gu Lingqing asked calmly, full of dignity. Seeing his attitude, Lu Shuang regretted saying so much. She thought that Gu Lingqing asked her about the past with Baya because he was interested in Baya. It didn't seem like it. Lu Shuang looked at Gu Lingqing worriedly. He wouldn't kill Baya just to erase the past, would he? She had really sinned this time. Chief, don't worry. Xiao Bai is a very tactful person. She might really want to let it go. Lu Shuang changed his words. Gu Lingqing looked at her and glanced at the door. You can leave. Okay. Lu Shuang quickly left. Talking to Gu Lingqing made her feel like she was facing a formidable enemy. Gu Lingqing touched his little finger. It turned out that he cut it off because of her. He really loved her in the past. After Lu Shuang went back, she got the news that those who attended the single-parent party tonight could leave 2 hours earlier. She hurried to pick up Baya. In the car. What did Gu Lingqing ask you? Baya asked worriedly. Well, he asked about his past. How would I know about his past, right? Lu Shuang said guiltily. His eyes flickered, and he didn't dare to look at Baya. You told him everything, didn't you? Baya judged. Lu Shuang knew that he couldn't hide it from Baya. I told him a little. He asked why you broke up. I said I didn't know either. I only said that you used to love each other. Baya frowned. Cool girl, you shouldn't have said that. It's best if I don't have anything to do with him. I know I'm wrong now. I won't say a word in the future. I promise, I swear, if I don't do it, I'll marry the person I hate the most. How about it? Poison me. Lu Shuang begged. Don't say a word wrong in the future. Baya was helpless. Her phone rang with a text message. She took it out and saw that it was a message from Gu Lingqing. It said, I'm staying at Blue Sky Villa tonight. Let's have dinner together. It was a statement, but it sounded like a command. No one could refuse it. Chapter 158. Lu Shuang noticed the strange expression on Baya's face and asked worriedly, what's wrong? Baya put her phone on silent mode and put it in her bag. Nothing, don't worry about it. Okay, help me look for a good candidate. You're an expert in psychology now, so I'll be very relieved with you around, Lu Shuang said happily. She said a lot more, but Baya didn't hear it. She was deep in thought. Gu Lingqing asked about Lu Shuang's past. Based on her understanding of Lu Shuang and Lu Shuang's reaction, she guessed that Lu Shuang would tell her everything he knew, and he would even add fuel to the fire. She understood that Lu Shuang had good intentions, but Lu Shuang's good intentions often led to the wrong things. She was used to it. She guessed that Gu Lingqing must have invited her for dinner to set up a trap to target the lies she had told before. Thinking about it, she felt very stressed. She might as well not go, so that she could have some buffer time. I had my eye on one before. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Special Forces, in charge of training Blue Wolf. He was very handsome, valiant, and had a good figure. He came to see me, and I fell in love with him at first sight. Later on, he often came to give me gifts, and we even went on a date. His father was the captain of a certain branch of the Navy. He was at least a colonel. His mother was the principal of a certain elementary school. His family conditions were very good. I felt that he quite liked me. After dinner, we went to a movie. When he sent me back, he even kissed my face, but I don't know why. But it ended after that, Lu Shuang said regretfully. Either he's a master of EQ, has high IQ, knowledge, and manners, and even if he doesn't like you, he has to maintain the image of a perfect lover. Or, there's a reason why he stopped developing with you, Baya analyzed. Lu Shuang frowned. Could it be that his family didn't agree? Baya smiled. There are many reasons. It all depends on whether you want to develop a relationship with him. Of course I do. He's the only one that I've liked in so many years. He has a good body, good looks, a good character, and a good family background. F***ck, I think he just doesn't like me, Lu Shuang said casually. Then find out the reason and solve it. If it's a reason that can be solved, then you can be together. If it's a reason that can't be solved, then just give up. Baya's eyes darkened. He looked out of the window and stopped talking. They didn't go to the military area, as the special forces were not allowed to enter. Instead, they went to a military activity center outside the military area. There was also a club in the activity center. The blind date was organized by the song and dance troupe. There were a lot of people, at least 500. The organizers were very attentive. They had prepared a buffet dinner for everyone to familiarize themselves with. Lu Shuang glanced at them and felt a little disappointed. The one you liked didn't come? Baya guessed. Lu Shuang shrugged. Forget it. If he doesn't want to develop a relationship with me because of his family, then it means that he doesn't like me that much. Baya nodded. Obstacles will improve the relationship. When it reaches a certain level, it will become stable. When it reaches a certain level, it will cool down because of the previous obstacles. The cycle will repeat and the other person's good points will become bad points. Relationships are the most fragile. That makes a lot of sense. So, I have to find someone who loves me more than I do. Someone who loves me to death and won't compromise because of age. At most, I'll just grow old proudly. Ha ha ha. Lu Shuang laughed loudly. Baya also smiled. You'll definitely find someone. After they finished eating, they went into the hall. When they went in, the staff at the door gave each person a rose. The men sat together and the women sat together. The method of the blind date was very simple. The host would invite the person up. The person who went up would introduce himself. The content of the introduction would include the following: 1. Love history. 2. Family members. 3. Personality and hobbies. 4. Future prospects. 5. Requirements for future partners. Then, there would be a talent show. After the performance, the person who felt that he or she liked would give flowers. When there were more people giving flowers, the person who went up could ask questions or ask for the other person's talent show. Then, the person who went up could choose the person he or she liked. Baya felt that it was quite interesting. Lu Shuang also signed up enthusiastically. When it was the 6th person, it was Lu Shuang's turn. Lu Shuang went up on stage to introduce herself. My name is Lu Shuang. I'm a doctor, a first lieutenant. Shuang means straightforward. This Shuang just happens to fit my personality. I'm rather straightforward. I'm the only child in my family. My father is a doctor and my mother works in a state-owned enterprise. When it comes to love, if you don't count the 1 week, the crush, and the unsuccessful blind date, then it's really a blank slate. Handsome guys will think that I'm more suitable to be their bro. Actually, I'm really a pure girl. If you don't like it, you can test it. After Lu Shuang said this, the audience burst into laughter. Lu Shuang did not care about the meaning of everyone's laughter. He continued to say, I like singing, I like dancing, and I love China. I hope that I can have at least 2 babies with my future husband. My requirements for my future husband are that he's not a playboy, doesn't fool around, has a strong sense of responsibility, is filial, treats me well, and is handsome. Ha 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 ha. When he said the last point, Lu Shuang was also embarrassed. Well, she was a girl from the Pure Appearance Association. After Lu Shuang finished speaking, he danced a particularly bold and seductive dance. The host said that those who liked cool girls should come and give them flowers. Baya saw a group of men running up the stage. There were at least 50 of them. Lu Shuang was also shocked. He covered his mouth and laughed happily. She was quite popular. Why didn't she have a boyfriend? At the door, a shadow flashed. The cigarette in Shen Yi's hand flickered, and the smoke enchanted his beautiful face. Your Highness, the president asked you to go back. Shen Yi's subordinate lowered his head and said. A sharp light flashed across Shen Yi's dark eyes, and he twisted the cigarette. 3 years ago, he was still an unruly young man, but now he had become more and more stable, introverted, and domineering. He strode towards the door. A group of subordinates followed him. He looked ahead sharply and ordered, watch carefully. Pluck as many peach blossoms as there are. After the election, see how I will deal with her. Yes. The subordinate lowered his head in fear. Baya's phone vibrated violently. She was also guilty and vaguely afraid. She took out her phone from her bag. Gu Lingqing had called her 3 times, but she did not answer any of them. It was conceivable that Gu Lingqing, who had a hot temper, must be very angry now. She was about to put her phone back when a text message came in. It was from Gu Lingqing. If you don't call back in 3 minutes, you will bear the consequences. She put her phone back into her bag. Several tall and strong men stood in front of her. Lieutenant Colonel Song walked out and reminded her, Ms. Bai, the chief is very angry. You should have called back. Chapter 159. F***ck Gu Lingqing did it on purpose. He knew where she was. What else could he do? He even tested her on purpose. However, she fell into his trap, so she was annoyed. She was like a clown, but he was the one who wanted to see her make a fool of herself. She couldn't escape at all, so she could only follow Lieutenant Colonel Song to the car. Lieutenant Colonel Song drove. How did Gu Lingqing know I was here? Baya asked in confusion. Nowadays, phones have GPS. With just a word from the chief, your location will be sent to the chief's phone within a few seconds, Lieutenant Colonel Song explained. When did you arrive at the hall? Baya asked. Not long ago, Lieutenant Colonel Song said simply, but you didn't pick up the chief's call on purpose. How can I not report this? Just say that I didn't see it, Baya said. Lieutenant Colonel Song was expressionless. According to the chief's principles, not reporting what you know is a big crime. So, you reported it? Baya had a bad feeling. When you put away your phone, I already reported it in real time. Lieutenant Colonel Song didn't hide it. Baya knocked her forehead on the back of the seat. Gu Lingqing must be furious. He must be so furious that he was about to explode. She looked out of the window in annoyance and sighed. She still felt annoyed. Lieutenant Colonel Song looked at Baya and said in a deep voice, "The chief is very busy. I advise you not to make him angry." "I already did. Do you have any good ideas?" Baya asked. Lieutenant Colonel Song was silent for a while. "I've been with the chief for 3 years and this is the first time I've seen him like a woman. He doesn't like me. He wants to know about the past," Baya retorted. "Why can't he know about his past?" Lieutenant Colonel Song's tone became colder. Baya's eyes darkened. He could know about his past, but what if these things didn't help him at all? If her feelings were blank, it would be blank. Even if it wasn't blank, all that was left was pain. The cut on her little finger started to hurt again. She didn't say anything else. She calmed herself down and calmed down, sinking into a boundless desolation. An hour later, Baya was sent to the blue sky courtyard. Gu Lingqing sat on the sofa in a bad mood. He tightened his jaw and puffed on his cigarette. The thick smoke blurred his grave and stern face, making it even more difficult for people to see his expression at this moment. Baya walked in, and the door closed behind her with a bang. It was like a blow to her heart. She walked towards Gu Lingqing and sat down opposite him. "Who allowed you to sit?" Gu Lingqing said coldly. Baya frowned and stood up. "Why didn't you pick up the phone?" Gu Lingqing questioned. His eyes were extremely cold. Baya was also annoyed by his domineering attitude. "Why do you think I should accept it? I'm not your subordinate, nor am I your wife. I'm not someone you can order around." Gu Lingqing stood up and Baya stepped back subconsciously. Gu Lingqing held her chin. "Just because you lied to me, I can ask you anything I want." Baya pushed Gu Lingqing's hand away. "Why did I lie to you? The reason why we broke up or the reason why my finger was chopped off? Yes, you loved me very much at that time, but so what? Now that you've forgotten everything, am I not allowed to come out from this shadow?" Gu Lingqing looked at her with his dark eyes, and his chest was heaving up and down violently. "Apart from these, what else? What else do you want to know?" Baya looked straight at him. Gu Lingqing's chin was clenched. She had done something wrong, so where did she get the confidence to be rational and strong? Flames danced in his eyes, burning away all the remaining warmth, and they became dark and cold. "You're not my type. You're arrogant and dark. Too much arrogance is annoying. You don't know how to be tactful, and you're not easy to get along with. I'm very surprised. How could I like you like that?" Gu Lingqing said sharply. His every word and every sentence was like a sharp knife stabbing into her heart, revealing some truths that she didn't want to admit or believe. Back then, Gu Lingqing had provoked her not because he liked her, but because he felt guilty. He was such a responsible person. He felt that it was all his fault for forcing her to live a bad life. So, he wanted to save her and make it up to her, even sacrificing his marriage and happiness. So, when he was hurt, he selectively lost his memory about his past with her. Why did he remember Zhou Hailan and forget her? This was also a portrayal of his heart. He didn't want to cry, and he didn't want to get hurt again. But he thought too thoroughly, and his heart was too cold. The heat flowed out of his body along with his tears. "Maybe, you don't like me that much, Gu Lingqing. Let bygones be bygones. You have a bright future ahead of you. Even if you don't get together with Su Shaoling, you can still find a girl you like. Let me go, let yourself go," Baya said with tears streaming down her face. Her tears made his heart very uncomfortable, as if there was something pulling at him, making his heart ache. He was too angry just now, so he leaned over and kissed her lips. Baya subconsciously rejected him and turned her face away. A cold light flashed across his eyes, and he pressed the back of her head, intensifying the kiss. Strong, domineering, and not letting her back down. Baya was instantly annoyed and pushed him hard. 3 years ago, he had forced her heart like this, and the result? The result? Despair, suicide. She didn't want to do it again. She didn't want to fall in love with Gu Lingqing again. She slapped his face. The sound of the slap was exceptionally loud. Gu Lingqing stared at her, and the corner of his lips curled up coldly. Like a ferocious beast, he pounced on her and tore her clothes. Ah! Baiya struggled like crazy. Gu Lingqing held her wrist and pressed it on top of her head, while his other hand tore her pants. Baiya didn't like Gu Lingqing. She really didn't like such a cold-blooded person. When he tore her pants, she heard the voice of despair in her heart again. She said angrily, "Do you have to force me to my death?" Gu Lingqing looked down at her with a sharp gaze. Why not? What kind of woman am I in the eyes of the chief? As long as a man comes, will I open my mouth and let you have sex with me? Baiya asked. I thought we had an agreement, Gu Lingqing said coldly. Use your power to force me? Or force me? Baiya said sarcastically. Didn't you say it was comfortable? Gu Lingqing furrowed his brows. Baiya turned her face away. Her mind was in a mess, so much so that she couldn't calm down and think. Gu Lingqing's gaze softened. Don't move. I'll be gentler. Why do you have to do it with me? Baiya asked in confusion. Didn't you say that I'm not your type? Why do you have to hold on to your past mistakes? Because I feel comfortable too. Chapter 160. This reason really made him want to vomit blood. You can find any woman who can make you feel comfortable. Baiya frowned. He didn't like it when she pushed him to others. He couldn't tell why, but there was a flash of light in his eyes. I'm looking for you. He was domineering. She couldn't do anything about it. He kissed her lips and entered her mouth forcefully. His big palm went under the hem of her clothes. Her skin was cold, and there was a hint of coldness. Pity flowed in his heart. Was this woman not in good health? So cold. He subconsciously used the warmth of his palm to warm her blood. He wasn't as rough as he was at the beginning. He kissed her lips downwards, undid the button on her back, and lifted her clothes. He lowered his head. Baiya let out a soft moan as he kissed her. The temperature of his mouth was very high, but it made her feel very comfortable, as if her blood was flowing and her bodily functions were recovering. She vaguely found a little shadow of the past Gu Lingqing on him at this moment. Her eyes were stained with mist, and there was a little more emotion in them. Gu Lingqing first tested her to make sure that she could do it, then he slowly. Baiya saw that he didn't seem to be using birth control products, so she hurriedly reminded him, I'm not in my safe period. Gu Lingqing responded with a deep voice, and looked at her with his deep eyes. Baiya wasn't unrestrained. On the contrary, she was very shy, and even her breathing was suppressed and light. But when she opened her mouth, frowned, and looked like ripples, he felt that she was very beautiful. He wanted to see the changes in her expression under different rhythms, so he sat on the sofa. Her gaze was too focused, as if she wanted to absorb him into her eyes. Baiya was too embarrassed to look at him. She lay on his shoulder, and her breath fell on his ear. His heart moved, and he held her chin with his thumb and forefinger, making her face him. Her gaze was very unfocused, as if shrouded in a mysterious veil. Her face was red, and she was charming. We used to be like this, right? Gu Lingqing asked in a hoarse voice. Baiya didn't want to be completely controlled by him, so she held his chin and kissed his lips. His lips were also very hot, like the sun, emitting hot blood. In the past, in order to keep warm, she kept getting closer and closer until she was reborn. This time, she could not be greedy. After a while, Baiya let go. However, Gu Lingqing was not satisfied. He pressed the back of her neck and continued to kiss her. He kissed her until he couldn't control his rationality anymore. He turned the tables and wanted her violently. He went to the bathroom to take a shower while Baiya rested on the sofa. However, she felt that it was too insecure every time he came out. What if there was another Xiao Bao's treasure? She couldn't afford any more mistakes in her life. She has to go to the hospital tomorrow to get in for. Her phone rang. It was Lu Shuang. She picked it up when she got up and went to her room to take a shower. Little White, where are you? I went backstage to cultivate my relationship with the boyfriend I just met. When I came out, you weren't there. Lu Shuang looked around and said. I have something to do, so I have to go now. Did your blind date go well? Baya filled the bathtub with hot water. Not bad, I picked one for me and I think he's not bad. I got to know him a little, so let's talk about dating in the future. I'll bring him out tomorrow and you can give me some advice, Lu Shuang said in a good mood. I'll take a shower first. I'll contact you tomorrow. Baya hung up the phone and lay in the bathtub. The warm water flowed through her body, relieving the pain in her muscles. She was a little sleepy and closed her eyes. In a daze, she heard Gu Lingqing's voice. Did you fall asleep in the bathtub out of habit? Baya opened her eyes and didn't answer him. Gu Lingqing passed the towel to her. You have a cold body and it's not good for your body to soak in cold water for a long time. You're still young and can't feel it, but when you get older, you'll be full of illnesses. Weren't you a doctor? Don't you know this? Baya took the towel from his hand and wrapped it around her body. She got out of the bathtub and replied, You know a lot about women. It's basic knowledge. My mother pays attention to her health, so I know a thing or two. Gu Lingqing added the last two sentences. He didn't know why, but he didn't want her to misunderstand his relationship with other women. Baya's heart skipped a beat. There was a ripple in her heart. She cleared her throat and deliberately ignored him. She changed the topic and asked, Have you eaten yet? What do you think? Gu Lingqing asked back. His eyes were dark and it was obvious that he was suppressing his anger. Baya didn't expect that he had been waiting for her. I'll heat it up for you. Someone's hot. You can just accompany me to eat. Gu Lingqing walked towards her. I've already eaten. Baya rejected him. He hugged her waist and looked down at her. If I ask you to accompany me, then accompany me. It can be a midnight snack after you've eaten. You're too skinny. You don't have any meat at all. Didn't you say that I feel comfortable? Baya threw out his words to deliberately block him. I said that I feel comfortable in my heart, Gu Lingqing replied casually. After saying that, he paused for a moment. Feeling comfortable in his heart meant that he was treating her with his heart and not his kidneys. Baya could tell that too. She was a little flustered. She felt that his hand on her waist was abnormally hot. She took his hand away. I'm going to change. Gu Lingqing didn't go out. Baya took the clothes and looked at him. What are you looking at? Go change, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Baya nodded and glanced at the door. You go out. Gu Lingqing crossed his arms in front of his chest and leaned against the door frame. His eyes were dark, and because his expression was serious, his words were also serious. Which part of your body haven't I seen or touched? Tell me, and I'll fill them all in. Baya was angry, but she laughed instead. When did General become a rascal? Baya was speechless. She turned her back to him and untied the towel. Gu Lingqing walked behind her and brushed her hair to the right side of her face. The hair brushed past her back and fell softly on her shoulder. It was a little ticklish. Baya looked up at him. He looked at her with a deep gaze and asked very seriously, Have I never been a rascal to you in the past? Baya didn't dare to recall the past. She retracted her gaze and neatly put on the clothes inside. The present is so beautiful, and the future is even better. Don't always be trapped in the past. There are some things that others can't forget even if they want to. General is very lucky. She kept calling him General, which made him feel uncomfortable. Change the way you address me. What did you call me in the past? Brother Qing? Baya felt that the current Gu Lingqing was quite self-righteous. Gu Lingqing. He was not satisfied with this form of address. Call me by my full name? Call me Brother Qing. Call me Brother Qing and you'll have meat to eat. Gu Lingqing lifted her chin and made her face him. Call me that. Baiya was thin-skinned. She pushed his hand away. I don't like to eat meat. Chapter 161. Baiya felt that Gu Lingqing had changed a lot. He wasn't so straightforward in the past. After all, he was a mature person. He had a strong understanding ability and it was easy for his thoughts to go astray. Some jokes could add fuel to the fire and make the other person blush. There was a kind of love flowing between the two of them. Baiya was a little embarrassed. She pretended not to understand. Didn't you say we're going to eat? Let's go. She changed her clothes quickly and walked out of the room. She didn't notice the slight smile on Gu Lingqing's face. He seemed to be in a good mood. Baiya had just sat at the dining table when Gu Lingqing's phone rang. He picked up the call and his expression changed. I know, I'm coming over now. What's wrong? Baiya sensed that something was wrong. Something happened in the military. I have to rush back now, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. He picked up his coat from the hanger. Baiya looked at the dishes on the table. Aren't you going to eat dinner? It's too late. You have my phone number. Call me if you need anything, Gu Lingqing said simply and turned to leave. Lieutenant Colonel Song opened the door and Gu Lingqing strode out. Baiya followed him to the door. The soldiers stood by the door respectfully. Gu Lingqing leaned forward and entered the car with a serious expression. She only saw his sturdy car, and then his car sped away. She guessed that something had happened to Gu Lingqing in the military. He had never told her about his affairs. She had no right to ask in the past. Now, she had no right to ask. However, Gu Lingqing was a good soldier. He was righteous. He didn't even eat dinner because of the military matters. Baiya turned around. Once Gu Lingqing left, she was the only one left in the spacious villa. It was empty. She was too afraid of such loneliness. Before she had any emotional problems, she quickly took her medicine and lay on the bed. She spent the night until dawn. She opened her eyes. She was still alive. He got out of bed, brushed his teeth, washed his face, and changed into bright clothes. Then, he took a taxi to the hospital. When she was in the taxi, she thought that she should buy a car so that it would be more convenient for her to go anywhere. When she arrived at the hospital, she registered for the gynecology department. After registering, she waited patiently in the waiting area. A woman came out of the gynecologist's office. She looked terrible. Although they had not met for more than 3 years, Baiya recognized that the woman was Su Shaoling at a glance. If she remembered correctly, Su Shaoling should be working in the military now. She was also a doctor. Why did she come here? Did she get sick? Baiya walked into the gynecology department. She knew the gynecologist, who was her former colleague. Sister Ing. When Sister Ing saw Baiya, she was very happy. After all, they had a good relationship in the past. Baiya, why are you back? Baiya bit the document in her hand. I came to get a ring. I came to see who was on duty. Hee hee. Oh, I'll write a list for you first so that you don't have to wait. I heard that you became a prosecutor later. Why are you so courageous? You gave up being a deputy director and became a prosecutor who is not a professional at all. In the hospital, you are the only one I admire, Sister Ing said with a smile and wrote the list. She wrote the document and passed it to Baiya. I didn't become a prosecutor after that. I only did it for half a year before I went abroad to further my studies. I'm a psychologist now and I'm currently working in a research institute. Maybe, I'll open a clinic later. Baiya exchanged simple pleasantries and took the document from Sister Ing. I really, really admire you. Now, you're a psychologist. It's the most popular profession now. You earn a lot and it's easy. We're working hard in the hospital now. We often have to work overtime and we have to get complaints often. It's really stressful. Not long ago, there was an incident of a doctor being hacked at the secondary hospital. I even know that doctor. I'm so depressed. I'm about to enter menopause, Sister Ing complained. Sister Ing, you're so beautiful and kind-hearted. If you enter menopause, how are we going to live? Baya said with a smile. All right, don't comfort an old woman like me. I still have some work to do. When we're free, let's have a gathering. Yeah, it's my treat. Oh yeah, Sister Ing, what happened to that girl just now? She didn't look too good, Baya probed. She's having a messy private life. Other than common gynecological diseases, she also has syphilis. It's already in the second stage. It's quite serious, Sister Ing said. Baya frowned and her face turned pale. Su Shaoling was Gu Lingqing's fiancée and she had a relationship with Gu Lingqing. She had a bad feeling. Sister Ing, give me another document. I'll check it too. What's wrong? Sister Ing widened her eyes and looked at Baya. Baya smiled. There's nothing wrong with checking more. An hour and a half later, Baya put on the birth control ring and got all the reports. She was normal and healthy. In the future, it would be safer to be with Gu Lingqing so that she wouldn't be infected. Was Gu Lingqing infected now? Or did Gu Lingqing infect Su Shaoling? No, Gu Lingqing had always been clean. If he only had Su Shaoling, he wouldn't have gotten this disease. Could it be that Gu Lingqing had other women? Or Su Shaoling had another man? Baya called back to the research institute in a daze. The more she thought about it, the more scared she was. Gu Lingqing liked to force himself on her but he didn't like to wear it. She wanted to refuse but she couldn't resist. For safety's sake. She sent a message to Gu Lingqing to remind him. Remember to wear it no matter what, or you'll get sick. Gu Lingqing replied very quickly. Are you sick? Baya was furious when she saw this. You're the one who's sick. I suggest you get it checked first. Just as she sent the message, Gu Lingqing called. What do you mean? His voice was sinister and he showed off his bad temper. It was as if he would kill her if she said anything wrong. Well, I just came out of the hospital. The tests are all good, Baya said. That's good. Gu Lingqing complimented her out of the blue. Baya was a little uneasy. It was as if she was asking for praise. I've seen a lot of women suffering from various diseases. People nowadays are easily impetuous and tempted by too many temptations. It's better to be careful when you're in a high position, Baya said tactfully. Gu Lingqing heard the hint in her words. He was in a good mood a second ago but the next second, anger filled his eyes. As long as you're not sick, I won't be sick. That's all. He hung up the phone coldly. As long as she wasn't sick, he wouldn't be sick. Was he provoking her, cursing her or, Baya's heart raced. Was he hinting that she was his only woman? Chapter 162. At the entrance of the research institute, Baya was still deep in thought. If Gu Lingqing only had one woman, why did Su Shaoling get a gynecological disease and even contract syphilis? Did she have another man? Pretty lady, you're here, the driver shouted. Baya came back to her senses and said, oh. She glanced at the meter, paid the fare, and got out of the car. What kind of nonsense was she thinking? Even if Su Shaoling had another man, what did it have to do with her? However, 3 years had really changed a lot of people. Things remained the same, but people had changed. Baya walked into the research institute and saw Mu Shaoxing throwing a tantrum. How did you guys graduate? When there's nothing going on, you guys brag like gods, but when there's trouble, no one dares to accept it. Didn't our research institute have an authoritative figure in the industry? This matter can only be handled by an authoritative figure, someone said. Why do I need you guys to handle everything? Why don't you guys go back and eat yourselves? Mu Shaoxing said angrily. Baya walked to the door of the conference room and knocked gracefully. Mu Shaoxing looked at Baya with a troubled expression. He wanted to say something but stopped. Baya smiled and said, "Say it, I'll take it." Mu Shaoxing seemed to be holding on to a life-saving straw. "At this time, only you can save me from this crisis. Come to my office." Mu Shaoxing walked out of the conference room and returned to his office. He threw some photos to Baya. Baya saw that it was a European-style castle, a miniature version. It was built with bricks that were no longer used. The castle was surrounded by creepers. Because of the age, the plants grew wildly, making the castle look a little strange. In the second photo, a tall man died in the room. His body was curled up, his fingers were clenched very tightly, and his expression was twisted with pain. This man is Xiong Jinping, the younger brother of Xiong Daini. He is now the mayor of Pingyan City. He died in this castle. He was killed in a secret room. There were no wounds on his body. After the autopsy, we found that his brain was congested. He died of fear. There were no toxins in his body. Mu Shaoxing explained. Baya looked at the third photo. It was also a man who had died in a room. He was lying on the ground, clutching his own neck. His eyes were bloodshot, and his death was horrifying. This person's name is Xiong Jiqing, Lieutenant Colonel, an instructor in the Special Military Region. It looks like he strangled himself, but in fact, he died of fear. Both of them died yesterday. Now, the higher-ups want a verdict within a week. My research institute has no choice but to accept it, Mu Shaoxing said helplessly. Baya understood. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. The higher the reputation, the more important face is. Bearing the glory comes with pressure. Your research institute is one of the top in the country. It should be able to bear the pressure. Don't be sarcastic. I'll leave this matter to you. I'll pay all the expenses for the business trip. You can stay in the presidential suite as you like. I'll give you a subsidy of 1,000 yuan a day for your hard work. As long as you can solve the case, I'll definitely pay for it. Mu Shaoxing said kindly. Am I going with the people from the police station now? Baya asked. The police station is taking this very seriously. They've hired an expert with a high salary. His name is Ling Qiuzuan. His nickname is the Lord. He'll bring an assistant with him. In addition, there will be 2 police officers accompanying him. There will be a total of 5 of you. The Lord will be the team leader. Ling Qiuzuan? I've heard of him. He's very famous. He's low-key. Other than solving cases, he's almost isolated from the outside world. It's great to have the opportunity to meet the legendary god, Baya said with a smile. Maybe you're a goddess in his heart. Your international reputation is no less than his, Mu Shaoxing complimented. Baya didn't say anything else. She went back to pack her luggage and went to the police station. She didn't tell Gu Lingqing that she was going on a business trip. When a general is outside, he doesn't obey military orders. However, she had to inform Lu Shuang. Girl, I'm going on a business trip. We can't meet for the time being. Ah, you're so busy with work. You have to go on a business trip as soon as you come back. That Mu Shaoxing is too harsh, Lu Shuang complained. It's good that the mission is completed. I'll contact you when I come back, Baya said apologetically. Well, by the way, I want to tell you something. Something happened in our military region last night. An officer was killed. At the same time, another officer died in the faraway Pingyan City. The key is that the one who died in Pingyan City didn't have a vacation. He went out without permission, disobeying the emperor's order. The chief is very angry. After all, murder in the special military region is not a trivial matter. It means that there's a problem with the security system. If a spy sneaks in, it's not a trivial matter. Anyway, it's a very serious matter. It even happened when the chief is electing the president. Now this news is temporarily blocked. These few days, I have to behave with my tail between my legs. I can't talk to you anymore. I have to do something first. Lu Shuang hung up the phone. Baiya put away her phone. No wonder Gu Lingqing left with a serious expression last night. Could Xiong Jiqing's death be related to the person who died in the military region? If she could find out, it could be considered as indirectly helping Gu Lingqing. She went back to pack her luggage and went to the police station. Ling Qiuzuan was already in the car. She was the last one to arrive. Baiya got on the police bus and saw the legendary Ling Qiuzuan. He looked about 35 years old. He was wearing a black trench coat. He was tall and thin and wore a hat. He had a triangular face and a sharp single eyelid. He looked very fierce. There was a needless sharpness in his eyes. When he looked at people, he was full of lethality. He was a handsome man. He was not easy to get along with. This was Baiya's judgment. Therefore, she didn't take the initiative to greet him and sat in her seat. Baiya. Ling Qiuzuan called her first. His voice was especially deep and it was very recognizable. Baiya glanced at Ling Qiuzuan and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Mr. Lang just came from the airport. He was in a hurry when he left and was hit by a little girl who was drinking milk tea. The little girl's mother was very angry. She thought that you were a strange uncle and even said that she would bring you to the police station. When you got angry, you brought the mother and the little girl to the police station together. Ling Qiuzuan pursed his lips and didn't say a word. He fixed his gaze on Baiya, his eyes shining with a gloomy light. Ling Qiuzuan's assistant was very surprised. How did you know? I saw the label on Mr. Lang's luggage when I was putting it in. The flight to City A at 11 a.m. It's only 12:30 a.m. now. It'll take an hour to get here from the airport. This means that you were in a hurry. As a result, there are some milk stains on your clothes. At this height, it should be a little girl. When I came here, a middle-aged woman was walking away with a little girl. She was cursing and saying that he was a pervert. He didn't have to rush for a flight. I got in the car and saw that there was still hostility in Mr. Lang's eyes, Baiya explained. Are you deliberately showing off? Ling Qiuzuan said bluntly. Baiya wasn't angry at all. When you called me, there was doubt in your eyes. You wanted to know what I'm capable of. I'm just following your wishes, aren't I? Ling Qiuzuan didn't say anything. Baiya's phone rang. She saw that it was a text message from Gu Lingqing. He said concisely, GXXX, get in coach 12. I'm here. Chapter 163. GXXX, get into coach 12, I'm here. While they were in the car, Baiya kept thinking about this sentence in her mind. Did Gu Lingqing know that she was going to Pingyang City? Ms. Bai, Ms. Bai. Ling Qiuzuan's assistant nudged Baiya. Baiya came back to her senses and looked at her assistant. What's wrong? My husband wants to talk to you, Ling Qiuzuan's assistant reminded him. Baiya then looked at Ling Qiuzuan. Ling Qiuzuan was in a very bad mood. He pulled a long face, his eyes were cold, and his anger was wanton. He said sarcastically, you are more arrogant than the rumors say. I'll meditate when I'm thinking about something, Baiya explained. Whether the other party believed her or not, it was none of her business. Ling Qiuzuan turned his face away, as if he did not want to talk to him anymore. Who was the arrogant one? Ling Qiuzuan's assistant smiled awkwardly and said, my husband said that Xiong Jiqing and Xiong Jinping have never been to Pingyang City. On the surface, they don't seem to know each other, and they don't exchange letters on the internet. The only thing they have in common is that they both went to bed together. People website. What do you think of this? I don't know for the time being. I've just come into contact with this case, Baiya said and lowered his eyes. Because it involved the special forces, she didn't want to make any rash comments to avoid unnecessary trouble. You don't deserve your reputation, Ling Qiuzuan said contemptuously with the corner of his mouth curling upwards in a sarcastic manner. Baya glanced at Ling Qiuzuan. He didn't even look at her. Baya smiled faintly. According to psychology, people who are quick with their words are usually hiding their inferiority complex or guilty conscience. Which one is Mr. Lang? Ling Qiuzuan looked at Baya darkly. His pupils were constricted, making him look extremely sharp. Do you think I'll feel inferior or guilty? From the moment I got on the car, you wanted to know what I was capable of enjoying such a great reputation. You always looked at me with a judgmental and provocative gaze. From another perspective, you were worried that I would perform better than you, so you tested me, and tested me again. This is not an expression of guilt. Do you want to see it now? Baya said casually. Nonsense, ignorant junior, Ling Qiuzuan said coldly. Mr. Lang is indeed talented. You have clear rules and excellent analysis. Although you don't show your face often, you have enjoyed the praise of the world. However, you are too greedy for praise. It reminds me of the famous general in history, Bai Qi. Baya said with a smile. Bai Qi? Looks like you've done a lot of research on me. I won't argue with you. He closed his eyes and said no more. Baya had never studied him at all, so he couldn't be bothered to argue with him. She only took on this case to repay his kindness. After driving for half an hour, they arrived at the South Railway Station. The station master sent them their tickets. They were all GXXX. They had priority to enter the station. Baya glanced at the coach on the ticket. It was coach number 6. She didn't want others to know about her relationship with Gu Lingqing, so she followed everyone to coach number 6. Coach number 6 was a first-class seat. She had just sat down when her phone rang. She saw that it was still a message from Gu Lingqing, so she opened it. Do you want me to send someone to invite you? Gu Lingqing's tone was overbearing and domineering. Baya replied helplessly, I just got on the train, so I came over after a while. She kept her phone and asked the train attendant, how long does it take to get to Pingyan from here? 6 hours and 20 minutes. We'll arrive at around 21:30, the attendant said with a smile. Baya nodded. She picked up her bag and walked towards the coach at the back. Where are you going? Ling Qiuzuan asked. I have something to do. I'll come at 2100 hours, Baya said simply. Ling Qiuzuan snorted. She arrived at coach number 12. There were 4 soldiers outside the door of coach number 12. They seemed to know her as they knocked on the door. Come in, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. The soldiers pushed the door open and Baya walked in. Gu Lingqing was browsing on the computer, very focused. His brows were slightly furrowed, and he looked especially cold. You're going to Pingyan too? Baya asked first. Gu Lingqing threw the information in his hand to her, but his eyes were still on the computer. Baya sat on the sofa and looked at the information that Gu Lingqing threw to her. It was Xiong Jiqing's information and Xiong Chang'an's information, as well as all the previous interactions between the two of them. Baya read all of them. The last page showed that both of them had logged onto the same adult website when she was on vacation. Xiong Jinping also logged onto the same adult website. Baya found the common characteristic of the 3 of them and looked at Gu Lingqing. He looked at her coldly and questioned, You didn't want to tell me when you went to Pingyan City for a business trip, did you? Baya didn't expect him to bring up the past at this time. I didn't have time to tell you, did I? You sent me a message. Really? Gu Lingqing didn't believe her at all. He smiled slightly. There was more than an hour between the time you confirmed that you were going to Pingyan and the time I sent you a message. You didn't even have time to send me a message? Baya knew that she couldn't hide it from Gu Lingqing. She looked down. Are you that busy with work? If you're that busy, you still have time to send me a message to see a doctor? Gu Lingqing exposed her lie without leaving any room for negotiation. Baya realized that Gu Lingqing was simply a logic freak. This is my job. I don't have to report to you one by one. You didn't tell me about your work either, did you? Gu Lingqing stood up. Baya instinctively stood up as well. He walked towards her. Suddenly, Baya felt the pressure increase. He put his arm around her waist and pulled her in front of him. You know very well whether it's about work or whether you're avoiding me on purpose. However, I can tell you very clearly that as long as I don't let go of you, there's no way you can avoid me. This trip to Ping Yen is meant to be a gift to you. This trip to Ping Yen is to give you a heads up. You're going to Ping Yen because of me? Baya was surprised. Her heart was beating extremely fast. You don't know how to do things, but you think too much. Xiong Jiqing and Xiong Chang'an are both members of my special forces. This is not a trivial matter. I must get to the bottom of it, Gu Lingqing said expressionlessly. His eyes were dark and without any color. You don't need to personally deal with this case, do you? Baya said in a low voice. It's good that you know. Gu Lingqing's meaningful words made Baya's heart, which had just calmed down a little, jump wildly again. Could it be that he knew that she was going to Ping Yen, so he also came to Ping Yen, come to work? Gu Lingqing didn't give her time to let her imagination run wild. He hugged her and sat down in front of his computer. Baya looked at the computer. Gu Lingqing entered the website. An adult website appeared in front of her. Chapter 164. Baya felt uneasy and didn't look at the screen. Don't you think it's better for your subordinates to do this job? They've already done it. They didn't find anything, Gu Lingqing said coldly. I might not have found anything. Baya resisted. It wasn't that she hadn't seen it before. Lu Shuang wanted it on his computer. It was just that she didn't want to watch it with him. You'll know if you found anything after you watch it, Gu Lingqing said. Gu Lingqing said. He clicked on one of the videos and looked at the screen seriously. In this video, all three of them have seen it before. You've seen it? Baya asked. There was a strange feeling in her heart. Gu Lingqing was expressionless. Not yet. But prepare to watch it now. Don't be distracted. Look at the screen. Baya, his words made it seem like she wasn't pure. Baya looked at the screen. A woman and two men in the wilderness. It was high definition and uncensored. Baya knew that it was work, but she was too embarrassed to watch it with him. She picked up the mineral water bottle on the table, opened it and drank 2 mouthfuls. Gu Lingqing glanced at her without batting an eyelid. Haven't you and I watched this kind of video before? You never watched this kind of video before, Baya said. Was I that boring in the past? Gu Lingqing asked. Baya, more or less, she said perfunctorily. How many times a week did we do it before? Gu Lingqing's topic was getting deeper and deeper. Baya gulped down a few mouthfuls of water. I don't remember. She felt that the words, I don't remember, were too perfunctory. She added, we didn't have many chances to meet in the past. You were very busy with work, so we couldn't count it in weeks. You have a lot of complaints against me? Gu Lingqing guessed. His words made it seem like she really wanted it. Baya didn't want to continue this topic. Chief, don't you need to work anymore? Gu Lingqing looks at her deeply, as if he has confirmed the answer. That gaze made Baya feel uncomfortable. She looked at the computer screen and suddenly saw some problems, so she paused the screen. She paused the entire scene of the man and woman together. Baya deliberately ignored them. Did you find anything? Gu Lingqing asked. Baya took out the photos from her bag and compared them. The title of this video is The Wilderness, but it's not the wilderness at all. It's inside the castle. It's just that because of the black background, we thought it was night time. Look. Baya drew out a part of the black color and vaguely saw the analysis between the black bricks. Vaguely. It's on the photo, it's on the screen. You mean, they all saw this video, and then they all saw the castle, so they all went to the castle? Gu Lingqing frowned. Baya didn't say anything. She played the video to the end. The woman was eating her fingers and said in a very sweet voice, Will you come and find me? I will always wait for you in this place. I remember your information said that they only read it when they were on vacation. Could it be that they drove to the castle and something unexpected happened? I think this woman is a clue. You'd better find out who she is immediately and get someone to investigate it. Baiya suggested. Gu Lingqing made a call. Help me find someone. I'll send you the photo. Through facial recognition, you should be able to find out who it is, right? Baiya watched as Gu Lingqing sent the face to the mailbox after asking the question. There are a few others. They watched the videos together. You can watch them too, Gu Lingqing said and clicked on the next video. Gu Lingqing, don't you think that your subordinates are a little? Baiya looked at Gu Lingqing with difficulty. It's a man's nature. It's not training time. It's inevitable when you're on vacation. It's abnormal if you don't watch it, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baiya looked at him strangely. Did he mean he watched it too? She felt cramped. Gu Lingqing suddenly closed the computer. Baiya didn't understand. What's wrong? She turned her head to look at him. Her heart skipped a beat when she met his lustful eyes. She quickly stood up. But it was too late. Gu Lingqing held her waist and brought her to the side of the bed. Baiya felt hot. She tried to pry open his fingers. We're on the train now. My soldiers are guarding outside. Not even a fly can fly in. What are you afraid of? Aren't you blaming me for being too busy with work and not having time for a week? Gu Lingqing said. His voice was hoarse, right beside her ear. How am I blaming you for not having time for a week? Chief, you've misunderstood. Baiya wanted to get up. Gu Lingqing pressed her down on the bed and looked down at her. With our relationship, do you think I won't be angry if you keep calling me chief? You don't have to be angry over such a small matter. The Prime Minister has a big belly. You should be more tolerant than the Prime Minister. Baiya flattered him and pushed his shoulders. Gu Lingqing held her hand and pressed it against the side of her face. I won't be angry with you if you call me chief. But if you keep rejecting me, I will. Baiya's heart trembled. There was a strange palpitation in her heart. He was too straightforward. Being straightforward, she didn't have any room to refuse. He lowered his head and kissed her lips. Baiya didn't want to, but she also knew that if she resisted, Gu Lingqing would be ruthless and hurt her. He didn't go through a long process before he took her. She shouldn't have been prepared, but her reaction afterwards made her feel ashamed. She wanted more but was too embarrassed to say it. She looked at him with a layer of desire. That kind of Baiya was real and beautiful. Gu Lingqing kissed her lips fiercely. If you reject me again, I won't let you come. His tone was fierce, but his actions were very doting. He went out to rest for a while and controlled his urges. When she climbed to the top, he would really care about her feelings. After that, Baiya was sweating all over. Can I take a shower here? There's no hot water, but there's cold water. It's not good to take a cold shower. I'll get someone to boil some water and send it over later, Gu Lingqing said. Baiya was embarrassed. That way, they will all know. You shouted so loudly. Do you think they won't know? No flies can fly in here, but it's not soundproof, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baiya felt that she had lost face in the Huangpu River. She lay on the bed, turned her back to him and pretended to be dead. Gu Lingqing glanced at her. There was a sense of pity in his eyes as he sat by the bed. Baiya ignored him and picked at her nails. The people who came are all my confidants. Even if they die, they won't say a word. Don't worry, Gu Lingqing comforted her. I don't think you should force yourself. Baiya negotiated. Chapter 165. Baiya was speechless at his words. Gu Lingqing asked his men to bring a big basin and 5 bottles of hot water. Baiya had to take a shower. She felt uncomfortable. She went into the washroom and came out. Gu Lingqing also went into the washroom to take a shower. His computer was not turned off. Baya glanced at it. There should be a lot of confidential documents on his computer. He actually went to the washroom without turning it off. If someone came to peek, a lot of secrets would be exposed. She did not look. The more secrets one knew, the faster one would die. She lay on the bed, took out her phone and went on QQ. A person called Man sent many messages. She had not used this QQ number for a long time. Usually, she only used it to contact Lu Shuang. She did not add people easily. She had no impression of this man. She wondered if her former colleague had changed his name. For example, Lu Shuang changed his name once a month. She could not find him before. Later, she added Lu Shuang's name in her memory. Baya clicked on the message. I'm here. This kind of message was sent almost every day. Baya replied, I'm here. Who are you? Baya, you're finally here. I miss you so much. Where are you now? Man asked. Baya was curious that the other party could call out her name. Who are you? Baya asked. A man who loves you, Man said. Baya felt that the other party was hiding something. Moreover, she was picky, which made her unhappy. Her tone became unpleasant. There are many men who love me. I won't tell you who it is. I'm blacklisting you. The other party was silent for 3 seconds. Baya was going to blacklist him. He typed a few words. Su Jiran. Baya remembered that she had blacklisted Su Jiran in this QQ. How could he still be there? Whether it was Su Jiran or not, she had to blacklist him. The phone was suddenly taken away by a big hand. Baya looked at the owner of the hand. Gu Lingqing scanned through their chat history and frowned. Many men love you? Originally, this sentence was meant to provoke him, and it was more or less intentional and boastful. However, she didn't like it when he snatched her phone and looked at her privacy. She didn't look at anything on his computer. It should be quite a lot, Baya said and went to get his phone back. Gu Lingqing frowned even harder. Are you still in a relationship with your ex-husband? I didn't know Man was his name. I thought it was a woman's name. Besides, I seem to have blacklisted him a long time ago. This sentence was true. Gu Lingqing blacklisted Man and handed the phone to her. Who loves you? Tell me. Baya, it was just a sentence from her, and he took it seriously. Ah Mao, Ah Go, Zhang San, Li Si, Zhang Long, Zhao Hu. Baya made up a random story. Gu Lingqing held her chin, bent down and kissed her lips. To be exact, it wasn't a kiss, but a bite. It was a little lighter than a bite, but it didn't diminish. He pushed her onto the bed. Baya was shocked. She put her hands on his chest and blushed. Didn't we just do it? I just washed it clean. Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply. He didn't speak, but his eyes were very bright, and they could reflect her. Baya couldn't figure out what he meant. First of all, you either pushed me down or wanted me. Secondly, can't you just do it? Gu Lingqing asked. Well. Baya took the opportunity to sit up and shrink at the foot of the bed. What? Gu Lingqing watched her every move, but he didn't expose her. Once a week is a physiological need, twice a week is a romantic need, 7 times a week means that you don't pay attention to your health, and it's harmful to your body. Baya explained. Gu Lingqing sat by the bed and looked at her. Then how many times a week do you want me to do it with you? Baya felt that his words were a trap. If it was once, she seemed to be used as a tool, she couldn't accept it. If it was twice, it would seem that she was ambitious and what she wanted was not simple. Well, if you're too serious, you'll have a burden. Baya skipped over his question. You also know that being serious will have a burden? Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth and said with an ambiguous expression. Baya, his words were directed at the theory of preserving one's health above her. Baya realized that she couldn't win against him in an argument. It wasn't that he was eloquent and had a glib tongue. Gu Lingqing didn't talk much, and most of the time, he was as calm as a mountain. However, he was very serious with his words, and it wasn't something that an ordinary person could compete with. Thinking that he was deliberately tricking her, she was a little annoyed and scolded him in a low voice. Win me every time, okay? Doesn't your heart hurt? Doesn't your heart hurt? This sentence was often said on the internet, and it was equivalent to a catchphrase. After she said it, she felt that she was wrong. Gu Lingqing was such a rigid person, how could he know that this was an internet slang used for jokes? He would take it seriously. I'll let you next time, Gu Lingqing promised seriously. Baya had a strange feeling in her heart. She lowered her head and felt his manly scent approaching. He was already in front of her. However, I have to correct you about one thing, Gu Lingqing said. What is it? Baya connected the dots. She didn't seem to have done anything wrong. Bu Zonggu, haven't had a woman in the past 3 years, and I haven't solved it myself, but I want to do it with you, Gu Lingqing said seriously. Baya's heart was beating extremely fast. What was Gu Lingqing hinting at? Did he like her? Not likely. He liked to have sex with her, but it didn't mean that he liked her personally. He also said that she wasn't his type, and he was very curious about how he could have liked her in the past. But, why did he say this to her? Baya looked at his eyes that were as clear as water and as calm as autumn zen. Alright, he was just stating that he liked to do this with her, that was all. It was really an answer that made her not know whether to laugh or cry. You didn't solve it yourself in the past, so what did you do physiologically? Baya tried to divert her thoughts. He was too hot, and he was pouncing on her skin through the air. Sports, training, high-tension exercises, and handling work can consume some of my energy. Sometimes, the quilt will be dirty once every month or two, Gu Lingqing explained. Baya thought of Su Shaoling. Su Shaoling was his fiancée. According to her understanding, Su Shaoling should be older than her. She was already 28 now, and Su Shaoling had reached the stage of becoming more mature, so she would also need it. Should she remind him about Su Shaoling's matter? She didn't want to be nosy. But, if Gu Lingqing and Su Shaoling did it, and Gu Lingqing did it with her, she would also be in trouble. Anyway, you must use condoms in the future, Baya said. It was too hot. She climbed towards the side of the bed, away from him. Gu Lingqing looked at her and felt hot. He held her waist and easily carried her into his arms. Didn't you use a birth control ring? You don't have to use it. Chapter 166. Baya knew that he had misunderstood. I'm talking about you and your fiancé. Baya regretted it the moment she said it. After he and his fiancé got married, they should have a baby. Shouldn't they have a baby? Gu Lingqing looked at her quietly and didn't say anything. His eyes were too deep. Baya didn't dare to look at him directly. She felt very awkward and didn't know how to explain. Gu Lingqing let go of her. Baya immediately stood up and stayed 2 meters away from him, guarding against him. Maybe it was because she hadn't had lunch and she was exercising, but her stomach was growling. Gu Lingqing seemed to know what she was thinking. Have you had lunch? Baya couldn't deny it. I left in a hurry. I didn't have time. Gu Lingqing made a phone call. Go to the restaurant and ask the chef to make 4 dishes. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya. Is there anything in particular that you want to eat? Baya felt that her mouth was bland. She wanted to eat something with a strong taste. Is there a fish head with chopped peppers, spicy chicken, duck blood curd and so on? Gu Lingqing frowned slightly. You like spicy food? Baya shook her head. I just want to eat it now. Ask the chef to make fish head with chopped peppers, spicy chicken, tomato eggs, and winter gourd ribs. That's all. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone after giving the order. Baya sat down on the sofa and waited for the food. Gu Lingqing didn't say anything. She looked at the computer again and worked. She was a little bored, so she picked up her phone and casually browsed the web. She was quiet, looking as if she was enjoying the peaceful time. Gu Lingqing's eyes were on her face. He seemed to be thinking about something. Baya saw a piece of news. It said that the police rescued more than 200 children in Dragon City and appealed to their families to claim them. Her eyes darkened. If her and Gu Lingqing's child is still alive, it should be 5 years old. Will her baby be among the rescued children? Back then, Su Jiran had said that he had some clues. More than 3 years had passed, but he had not found anything. Otherwise, according to his personality, he would have come to negotiate with her. Is Longqing not too far away from Pingyan City? Baya looked up and asked Gu Lingqing. Because she was immersed in her own thoughts, she did not notice the deep look in his eyes. Even if she noticed it, with Gu Lingqing's unfathomable abilities, she wouldn't be able to tell anything. The high-speed train will take more than half an hour. What's wrong? Gu Lingqing asked. Baya nodded. After this case was solved, she wanted to go to Longqing's Public Security Bureau to try her luck. Just asking. Gu Lingqing looked at the computer screen again. Baya sat on the sofa in a daze. When her baby was born, she saw it, and it didn't look like her. The baby's biological father was Gu Lingqing. If the baby didn't look like her, would it look like Gu Lingqing? Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Baya came back to herself and went to open the door. The soldiers outside the door each brought a dish over. Gu Lingqing closed the computer and put it on the coffee table. The table was empty, and he said to the soldier, "Go get 2 bottles of drinks." "Do you have beer?" Baya asked the soldier. The soldier looked at Gu Lingqing. "Go get a few bottles of beer," Gu Lingqing ordered. "Yes." The soldier retreated from the room. Baya sat next to Gu Lingqing and used disposable chopsticks to eat some steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers. It was fresh, salty, and spicy. I haven't eaten steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers for a long time. The steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers I make is very delicious. I'll make it for the chief someday, Baya said casually. Gu Lingqing's expression looked calm, but there was some joy in his eyes. "Did you cook for me before?" "Yes." Baya was in a good mood today, so she was more talkative. "When I go back, I can make a few dishes that I'm good at." "I've never had a good appetite," Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing and couldn't help but care for him. She blurted out, "Why not? It's been like this since I left the hospital. There are many things to do, and my memory has been blank for many years. There are many things that I need to adapt to. For example, adapting to being the chief of a special military unit. The central government is also against it. Those who are capable will survive. I need to prove that I have the ability and courage. I also need to understand the complicated relationships between people. For example, my fiancé. Everyone told me that I love my fiancé very much." Gu Lingqing stopped abruptly and didn't continue. In fact, he had already said a lot. He didn't know why, but he trusted Baya. Baya lowered her eyes. She didn't experience it, but she could feel it if she thought about it with her brain. A chief who lost his memory, he also lost his experience, strategy, and that graceful courage. He was in a high position, so there would definitely be many people who opposed him. In order to prove that he still had the ability, he needed to put in a lot of effort. Especially Su Xiaoling's existence. That was equivalent to a lie. The ones who lied to him were his family, friends, and everyone he used to trust. It must be very difficult for him to survive in a lie. Baya's heart ached for him. It was no wonder that he had become so harsh, heartless, cold, and ruthless. The soldiers brought 12 bottles of beer, 2 glasses, and a bottle opener. Baya opened a bottle of beer and poured it for him. Gu Lingqing held her hand and looked at her with eyes as dark as ink. Can you tell me the real reason why we broke up? Baiya looked at Gu Lingqing. She didn't want to lie to him anymore. Otherwise, he would be too pitiful. But she also didn't want to push him to hell. The arrangement of fate. Baiya said ambiguously. Gu Lingqing's eyes dimmed and he drank up the beer in the glass. You still refuse to tell me. Baiya, what do I have to do to pry open the secret in your heart? The past is like the wind. You really don't have to be so stubborn. If you can, you should try your best to climb up and stand at the highest peak of the world. There is no weakness, and no one can hurt you. Baiya said meaningfully and also drank up the beer in the glass. She saw that Gu Lingqing still wanted to ask something, but she was afraid that she couldn't bear it, so she changed the topic and said, Leader, let's play a game. Do you know how to play the drinking game? Gu Lingqing could see that she was deliberately avoiding it, and he was a little annoyed. Drinking game is boring. Let's play cards. It's simple and straightforward. The loser drinks. What if I get drunk? Baiya was a little worried. If you get drunk and sleep, you will be sober by then. What are you afraid of? Don't you still have me? Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Don't you still have me? This sentence was so familiar. It seemed that she had heard Gu Lingqing say it before. She looked at Gu Lingqing, and her eyes were sparkling. She was very moved, as if she had found the Gu Lingqing in her heart. Even if that Gu Lingqing would only appear for 1 or 2 seconds, it was enough to make her feel warm. Now she knew why she was still able to live on. Chapter 167. This was probably one of the main reasons why she was willing to compromise with the current Gu Lingqing. There was still a desire in her heart. It was hidden very, very deeply. But it wasn't that there was none. Alright, then let's play cards and draw randomly, right? Baiya asked about the rules. Gu Lingqing nodded and asked the soldier to get a deck of cards. He shuffled the cards and let Baiya draw. Baiya drew 1 card, and so did he. Gu Lingqing was very good at playing cards, and he almost never lost. Baiya was also very straightforward and drank directly. He was very careful, and he didn't play cards continuously. He always let her eat a little before playing again. She ate a lot, and drank a lot too. She was drunk. Baiya came out of the washroom, and she was already swaying. Again. She sat next to Gu Lingqing and said with half-closed eyes. No, you've already drunk enough. If you drink any more, it'll hurt your body, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Heh. Baiya laughed, and her eyes were sparkling. She sat on Gu Lingqing's lap and put her hand on his shoulder naturally. You care about me? Gu Lingqing pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Her eyes lingered on his face. Gu Lingqing, if you didn't forget about me, guess what would happen to us now? Gu Lingqing realized that she was really drunk. Her little face was red, and even her smile was a little simple and honest. What would happen? Gu Lingqing followed her words and said. Baiya broke into a smile and touched his soft lips with her middle finger. She was a little infatuated, and the words she said were very pessimistic. Nothing will happen, right? I'm not your type. You like Zhou Hailan. Gu Lingqing frowned and held her hand that was on his lips. You know Zhou Hailan. Baiya nodded, tears flowing from the corners of her eyes. Zhou Hailan, the cinnabar mole in his heart, the thorn in her flesh. Gu Lingqing saw her tears and felt a strange sadness in her heart. She wiped her tears with her fingertips and realized a possibility. Does my breakup with you have anything to do with her? Actually, it was unrelated, but it was related. It had nothing to do with the fact that she and Zhou Hailan did not know each other. The two of them had appeared at different times in his life. When she first met him, there was a Zhou Hailan in his heart. She could tell from his reaction when he saw Xia He. After he lost his memory, he forgot about her and remembered Zhou Hailan. This was the direct cause of her suicide. Thinking of this, her heart ached. She didn't want to mention Zhou Hailan anymore. Gu Lingqing, I don't like it when you keep testing me, Baiya expressed. Gu Lingqing fell silent. The corners of Baiya's mouth raised. Actually, I know that you keep me by your side because you want to know about the past. You're drunk. Rest for a while. I'll wake you up when it's almost time for Ping Yan. Gu Lingqing carried Baiya and put her on the bed. Baiya pulled him down and wrapped her arms around the back of his neck. She wrapped her arms around the back of his neck, and the distance between them was less than 10 centimeters. Gu Lingqing looked at her. Didn't you want to know what kind of positions we liked in the past? Baiya asked. Gu Lingqing stared at her. Two little Baiya were reflected in his deep eyes. She was smiling and crying. In her eyes, there was an emotion that he could not fathom. It was more like despair and nirvana. You're really drunk, Gu Lingqing said with a frown. Baiya wrapped her legs around his waist and pulled him in. Gu Lingqing moved closer to her. He frowned slightly and looked into her eyes. This was a very normal action for her. The difference was that she took the initiative, liked, and cooperated. This proved that they had really loved each other before. He should ask more questions while she was drunk. Those secrets that she wanted to hide might be blurted out because she was drunk. However, Baiya's words just now flashed through his mind. Gu Lingqing, I don't like you to keep testing me. His heart tightened when he thought of how she cried. He lowered his head and kissed her lips. The drunk Baiya was very passionate. She kissed him back and would rub against him like a pitiful kitten, teasing him. When he wanted her, she would wrap her legs around his waist. This feeling was completely different from the previous few times when he was cold and passive. She was real now, lively, and alive. He was very excited and his breathing was heavy. Sweat fell on her body along with his sharp and hard chin. He and she were almost at the same time. Her voice was soft and mellow. It was as beautiful as the sound of nature. He could feel the difference. There was a force of attraction that brought him into her world. Gu Lingqing lowered his head and kissed her lips. She opened her mouth slightly and breathed. Her eyes were unfocused. She was tired and fell into a deep sleep. Gu Lingqing got up. He knew that Baiya liked to be clean. He helped her clean up before he went to the washroom to clean up. When he came out, Baiya was still asleep and wouldn't wake up for a while. On the contrary, he was very clear-headed. He thought about every word Baiya said and every expression she made when she was drunk. He had a feeling that they didn't break up. He lost his memory and had no choice but to separate. Baiya woke up naturally. When she opened her eyes, she saw that Gu Lingqing was still sitting in front of the computer, working. The table had been cleaned up. Even the empty bottles were gone. She was drunk. When she was drunk, her last memory was of her going to the toilet. She would talk nonsense after she lost her memory. He was a little worried. What time is it now? Gu Lingqing looked at Baiya. It's 9:00. You woke up in time. Baiya looked at his expression. She didn't notice anything strange. I didn't say anything nonsense, did I? Gu Lingqing's lips curled up. Is it nonsense to say what kind of position I like? Baiya's face was flushed red. She didn't have to say that. That was too unreserved. Other than that, what else did I say? Baiya had a bad feeling. Oh, right. You didn't say it. You did it directly. Gu Lingqing corrected. Baiya was dumbfounded. Her eyes were wide open as she sized him up, trying to determine if what he said was true or not. The main thing was that they had already done it once. Even if it happened again, she wouldn't feel any difference. Baiya couldn't tell from Gu Lingqing's face. She asked in a low voice, what was it like then? Gu Lingqing didn't say anything. He changed the topic. Are you going with your partner or me? Baiya saw that he didn't say anything. It should be fake. Her expression was much more relaxed. I'll go with my colleagues. It's not good to go alone. I'll go to the castle too. We'll contact each other when the time comes, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya got up and walked towards the door. Baya, you said that the position we like is not convenient for me to come out. You didn't have a birth control ring in the past. I don't think I like to use birth control products. Have we ever had a child? Gu Lingqing suddenly asked. Chapter 168. Baya knew that she had to be careful when talking to Gu Lingqing. He would be able to spot any mistakes or logical problems. She glanced sideways at Gu Lingqing. How can there be a child when we're in this position? We've only done it a few times. Gu Lingqing, he could sense a deep resentment in her tone. Could it be that he really did not satisfy her in the past? This made Gu Lingqing very uncomfortable. Baya went back to her carriage. Ling Qiuzuan's sharp gaze was scrutinizing Baya. It was as if he was looking at an X-ray, which made people shudder in fear. She only took a glance at Ling Qiuzuan and pretended that she did not see anything. She returned to her original seat. Where did you go? Ling Qiuzuan asked in a cold tone as if he was interrogating her. I don't think I need to report to you where I go. Baya said defensively. I'm your team leader now. I have the obligation to ensure your safety. You've been out for 6 hours. Even if you're chatting with someone, 6 hours is too long. Ling Qiuzuan furrowed his eyebrows. I'm not a child. Besides, I was on the train. Where could I have gone? Baya did not want to answer. That's why I'm even more curious. What could have taken 6 hours on the train? Ling Qiuzuan wanted to get to the bottom of it. My friend was there too, so I went to his place, Baya said ambiguously. What friend? Ling Qiuzuan asked matter-of-factly. Baya furrowed her eyebrows. You're the team leader of this case. Even if you're my superior, you have no right to interfere with my freedom to make friends. Mr. Lang, you think too highly of yourself. Ling Qiuzuan gritted his teeth and turned his face away with a ghastly pale face. His lips were pursed tightly. His assistant did not look well. Mr. Lang was definitely angry. Detective Bai, my husband is just concerned about you. He checked his mobile phone several times just to make sure that you're safe, said the assistant. Baya also felt that his tone was very bad. In the end, it was because he felt guilty, so he used the sharpness and strength of his words to cover it up. I'm sorry, Mr. Lang. Baya took the initiative to apologize. Ling Qiuzuan continued to ignore her. He was like a statue, not moving an inch. Baya glanced at him. She had already apologized, so it was up to him whether or not he wanted to forgive her. His phone rang with a message. She saw that it was from Gu Lingqing and clicked on it. If your colleagues ask you where you went, just say that I called you over to ask about the case. It's fine. Baya put her phone back into her bag. She had already said that she had met a friend. If she were to change her words now, it would be a slap to her face. Anyway, it was a small matter. Ling Qiuzuan adjusted his mood and looked at Baya, saying, Do you dare to sleep in the castle tonight? Baya looked at Ling Qiuzuan in surprise. The castle had always had a mysterious and murderous feeling. It was a little creepy and scary even in the daytime. To sleep there at night. This person was too bold. Ling Qiuzuan curled up the corner of his mouth sarcastically. Don't you dare. I heard that you used to be a doctor. Don't tell me that you also believe in nonsense like ghosts and gods. I just think that it will be more comfortable to sleep in a hotel, Baya explained. Ling Qiuzuan's face became even worse. Do you think that you are asked to come out to handle a case for comfort? I'm sorry, I have to finish this case in 3 days. I don't have time to waste. If you want to go to a hotel, go alone. In fact, I don't think you are needed, Ling Qiuzuan said sarcastically. Baya was speechless. It was as if it was an unforgivable sin for her not to stay in the castle with them. I know, Baya answered. Ling Qiuzuan looked away and said coldly, useless. Baya was speechless. It would be rude to argue with him in front of him. She didn't need to convince him. She just needed to make up her mind. But she still felt creeped out. Baya sent a text to Gu Lingqing. Do you know Ling Qiuzuan? He's a very famous detective. He's now the team leader of this case. He wants us to sleep in that murderous castle tonight. Gu Lingqing sent a word. Baya saw that it was only one word. It was simple and straightforward. There was a sense of loss in her heart. Her phone rang again. It was Gu Lingqing again. I've already arranged it. We will stay in the castle tonight. I'll bring 2 people in. Don't be afraid. Baya couldn't help but smile. She instantly felt at ease. It was as if wherever he was, she would be safe. He gave her this feeling that he could protect her. Ling Qiuzuan snorted coldly. He said at a decibel that Baya could hear, "You're still a little girl. You pretend to be mature and capable. You report to your boyfriend every time something happens. Are you seeking comfort?" Baya looked at Ling Qiuzuan in disbelief. How did he know that she was snitching on him? However, her behavior really looked like she was seeking comfort from her boyfriend. Was Gu Lingqing her boyfriend? Baya's heart beat faster. She blushed and looked out of the window. She looked like a little girl reflected on the window. Baya sighed. She had finally walked out of the shadow. Was she going to fall back into it again? Soon, the train arrived at the station. Don't fall behind again. Someone from Pingyan City is here to pick us up. They've arranged for supper. Ling Qiuzuan said to the air. Baya guessed that he was talking to her. She analyzed Ling Qiuzuan from a psychological point of view. Arrogant, rude, arrogant, conceited, and condescending. Besides, he should know about her. He had a world. This world wouldn't be let in casually. He didn't talk to others. Occasionally, he would talk to her. He was so arrogant. It meant that he was still willing to let her into his world. It was just that he was still investigating. Baya suddenly felt that Ling Qiuzuan was quite cute like this. She laughed. Ling Qiuzuan suddenly looked at her with a long face. What are you laughing at? Take a guess. Baya didn't want to tell him. You're laughing at me. Ling Qiuzuan said very clearly. Baya laughed even more brightly. Her eyes were curved. It's rare for me to be confused. Hee hee. Ling Qiuzuan gritted his teeth. You're really laughing at me. Baya didn't reply to him. She walked in front. The people from the police station greeted them in a police car. The rotating lights on the police car were very bright. It was very easy to recognize. A strong man in the police uniform came forward and greeted Ling Qiuzuan. You're finally here. You must be hungry. Our chief has prepared a meal. Please follow me. Ling Qiuzuan responded coolly. There were a total of 5 of them this time. Each car had a driver and someone to pick them up. Baya deliberately wanted to sit in a separate car from Ling Qiuzuan. She walked to the car at the back and sat in the back. Ling Qiuzuan sat next to her. Baya. Chapter 169. Gu Lingqing didn't bring many people for dinner, only 2. The director said warmly, "Thank you for coming here despite your busy schedule. Let me introduce you. Mr. Ling Qiuzuan, Assistant Ling, Ms. Baya, Xiao Wang, Xiao Li." After introducing the people on Baya's side, the director introduced the people on Gu Lingqing's side. This is Mr. Gu, Mr. Zhang, and Mr. Cheng, who were sent by the military to investigate. Mr. Gu, Mr. Zhang, and Mr. Cheng? Baya guessed that the director didn't know the real identity of Gu Lingqing. Ling Qiuzuan looked at Gu Lingqing but didn't greet him. Baya was very guilty. The fact that she was the woman behind Gu Lingqing's back was hidden in the dark. Once it was exposed, there would be endless trouble. She was a little worried that Ling Qiuzuan would see through her, so she didn't greet him. The director saw that the people on both sides weren't polite and felt quite awkward. Sit down. Everyone must be hungry. Let's eat first. The group sat down. Baiya sat opposite Gu Lingqing. Ling Qiuzuan sat next to Baiya. Baiya's foot was suddenly clamped by two legs. She slightly frowned and looked at Gu Lingqing. He was calm and didn't look at her at all. He shook the red wine glass in his hand. This man could be so childish. Baiya pulled her foot out. We'll live in the castle after dinner. Can you help us prepare some sleeping mats? Ling Qiuzuan went straight to the point. You're going to live in the castle? The director was very surprised. We're here to solve a case, not to travel. The sooner we find out, the better. I have other things to do. Ling Qiuzuan said very firmly. Oh, that's fine. I'll arrange it now. However, I have to remind you that there are sometimes strange sounds coming from the castle at night. We locals don't dare to approach it. In fact, something happened to the castle before. The chief said. What happened? Gu Lingqing asked coldly. The bureau chief explained, we were afraid that it would cause a negative impact, so this matter wasn't reported in the newspapers. Previously, a few high school students were playful and ran in. Only one came out, but he went crazy. Have you found the children? Baiya asked. The chief shook his head. We've sent a few bold officers to search during the day, but to no avail. They didn't even find a corpse. So, you guys have to be careful when you go in. Baiya was an atheist, but he still felt creeped out after hearing about it. This was because she knew another thing. The most terrifying thing in the world was not ghosts and deities, but the human heart. Gu Lingqing kicked her lightly. Baiya came back to his senses and looked at Gu Lingqing. It's better if girls don't stay in there, Gu Lingqing said. Baiya knew that he was concerned about her. She felt a warmth in her heart. I'm so sure too. After all, girls are all cowards. They can just wait for news in the hotel, Ling Qiuzuan said sarcastically. Baiya could tell that Ling Qiuzuan was deliberately targeting her. The warmth in her heart turned into coldness. No need. Let's go in together. I want to solve the case as soon as possible. After Baiya said that, the atmosphere became strangely quiet again. The chief laughed dryly and said, let's eat. Our pufferfish is very famous. We also have sori, which you can't find anywhere else. Baiya had never eaten pufferfish before, so she picked up some and put it in her mouth. It tasted like furry pigskin. It tickled her tongue, so she spat it out. Not used to it? The chief asked with concern. Yes, Baiya answered and didn't deny it. I've heard of Ms. Bai's name for a long time. I thought you were an old lady. I didn't expect you to be so young and beautiful. Do you have a boyfriend? The chief asked. This question made Baiya feel quite awkward. Not yet, Baiya said perfunctorily. Gu Lingqing was displeased and kicked her again. Baiya frowned and added, I'm too busy with work. I don't think about it for now. Heh, Ling Qiuzuan sneered and looked at Baiya with disdain. It was obvious that he didn't agree with her. Baiya, she guessed that in Ling Qiuzuan's eyes, she was a person who couldn't be compared to what she appeared to be. She was annoyed for no reason and asked with a smile, Mr. Leng, you don't have a girlfriend either, right? What? You want to be with me? I'm sorry, but I don't like you, Ling Qiuzuan said arrogantly. Gu Lingqing's face looked even worse. When he looked at Baiya, he was obviously angry. However, it was only for a moment. He hid it very well. Baiya wasn't angry either. When it came to people like Ling Qiuzuan, she would lose if she was angry. Baiya said with a smile, Mr. Leng, don't worry. I'm not blind among the people here. I'd rather like Mr. Gu than you. Ling Qiuzuan was angry. He looked at Gu Lingqing up and down as if he was looking at his rival in love. Gu Lingqing was a little taller than him, a little stronger than him, a little better looking than him, calmer and more enigmatic than him. He suddenly frowned, as if he had seen Gu Lingqing somewhere before. He, the chief's voice was dry. Eat. The chief's hospitality was quite generous. Well, Baya guessed that the chief only needed to sign the bill. Every unit like this had a hospitality fee. Therefore, the chief gave everyone a plate of bread crabs. The bread crabs were golden and covered with egg yolk. They looked delicious. I'll wash my hands first, Baya said and stood up. Poor and fastidious, Ling Qiuzuan said unhappily, as if he was deliberately trying to suppress her. Baya didn't know when she offended him. Because they were both famous, but he didn't have to go that far. Forget it. After this case, they probably wouldn't have a chance to meet again. Bear with it for a while, and everything would be peaceful. Baya went to the washroom, washed her hands, and came out. Gu Lingqing stood by the wall and smoked. Baya wanted to pretend that she didn't know him and walk over. Gu Lingqing held her wrist. Baya was shocked. She was pulled into the men's washroom by him. Baya's heartbeat quickened. She lowered her voice and said, Gu Lingqing, we'll be seen here. It's not good. Don't you have a boyfriend? Gu Lingqing questioned. Baya felt that his tone wasn't very good. Don't you know whether I have a boyfriend or not? Gu Lingqing looked at her fiercely. In the future, no matter who asks you, you must say that you have a boyfriend. Do you understand? He sounded like he was ordering her. Baya couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Got it. I have to go back now. They'll be suspicious if I'm late. Gu Lingqing lowered his head and kissed her hard on the lips. His breath was too strong, with the smell of tobacco, and the danger of a mature man. Baya was too nervous. Her nose was densely covered in sweat. She pressed against Gu Lingqing's chest, hoping that he would stop after a little taste. Gu Lingqing originally wanted to just kiss her, but after touching her soft lips, he didn't want to stop after a little taste. The washroom's handle clicked. Baya was so shocked that her heart almost jumped out of her throat. Chapter 170. Gu Lingqing carried her into the last cubicle. The space was too narrow. She could feel his heartbeat when she put her hand on his chest. Thump, 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 thump. Suddenly, she felt a little sad and looked up at Gu Lingqing. At least, he was still alive, wasn't he? She should thank God that it was only his memory that was taken away, not his life. However, what was the bitterness in her eyes? Was it unwillingness, sadness, or pity? Baya lowered her head. Her long eyelashes covered the real emotions in her eyes. She shouldn't have let him see it. That Mr. Gu's identity is very noble, right? Ling Qiuzuan's voice was heard. Yes, it should be. The higher-ups told us to listen to his orders, the director replied. Does he have a girlfriend? Ling Qiuzuan asked calmly and turned on the tap to wash his hands. I'm not sure. I don't even know who he is. How would I know if he has a girlfriend? The director said with a smile. This Mr. Gu is a lady killer. My assistant and Baya blush when they see him, Ling Qiuzuan said sarcastically and opened the door to go out. Baya, she blushed when she saw Gu Lingqing. Why didn't she know? Ling Qiuzuan's observation skills were too strong. She was very worried. Did you see me blush? Gu Lingqing asked with great interest. No, maybe it's because he drank a little. Ling Qiuzuan likes to talk nonsense, Baya denied. Gu Lingqing kissed her on the lips. Baya moved back. Gu Lingqing was unhappy and pinched her chin. Baya pushed Gu Lingqing's hand away and explained, We've been out for a long time. If we don't go back, people will suspect us. Without waiting for Gu Lingqing's reply, she opened the door and walked out with her head covered. When he returned to the private room, everyone was there except for Gu Lingqing. Ling Qiuzuan glanced at Baiya. You were gone for a long time. I thought you had drowned in the washroom. Baiya was a little embarrassed. Ling Qiuzuan had been targeting her. Do you have to care about the length of time? Baiya said in a low voice, not paying attention to his tone. Ling Qiuzuan looked at her and met Baiya's resentful gaze. There was even a tinge of shyness in her eyes. She was shy because Ling Qiuzuan said that Baiya blushed when she saw Gu Lingqing. Ling Qiuzuan had a strange look in his eyes. He picked up the teacup beside him and took a sip. Baiya ignored her and peeled the crabs herself. They were quite delicious. Ling Qiuzuan placed his crabs beside her. Baiya looked at him in confusion. Help me peel them, Ling Qiuzuan said simply. Baiya smiled. Where did he get the courage to think that she would help him peel them? Assistant Lang, this is for your husband. Sorry for the trouble. Baiya passed the plate to Assistant Lang. Ling Qiuzuan's face darkened. Is this how you treat your boss? You're not my boss, Baiya said bluntly. Ling Qiuzuan, Gu Lingqing came in from the door and sat opposite Baiya. Does Mr. Gu have a girlfriend? Ling Qiuzuan asked directly. Because he was in a bad mood, even his tone was not good. Gu Lingqing glanced at Baiya. Yes, he said in a low voice. Baiya's heart was beating very fast. No, Gu Lingqing did not only have a girlfriend, he had a fiancée. Baiya's beating heart calmed down. That's a pity. Ling Qiuzuan smiled and glanced at Baiya. Baiya, this was the first time she saw Ling Qiuzuan smile. But why did he look at her when he smiled? It gave her a bad feeling. After dinner it was already 11 o'clock. The director ordered someone to bring 8 sleeping mats and 8 blankets. They set off to the castle together. The location of the castle was a little remote. It took more than an hour to drive from Pingyan City. Baiya did not want to talk to Ling Qiuzuan, so she pretended to sleep the moment she got in the car. She had insomnia easily at night. Plus, she had slept during the day, so she really could not sleep now. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She did not know what he wanted. Ling Qiuzuan used some strength. Baiya fell on Ling Qiuzuan's shoulder. Baiya, she smelled the faint scent of cologne on his body, with a feeling that could confuse her mind. Should she pretend to be asleep or open her eyes? She did not open her eyes before. If she opened them now, it would feel very awkward. The car stopped at a red light. Gu Lingqing's car stopped next to Baiya's car. He subconsciously looked into their car. When he saw Baiya leaning on Ling Qiuzuan's shoulder, his pupils shrank, and a sharp light shot out of his eyes. He picked up his phone and called Baiya. Baiya's phone rang. She was glad that someone called her, so that she woke up so naturally. Ling Qiuzuan explained, "You fell on my shoulder yourself." Baiya, she took out her phone from her bag and saw that it was Gu Lingqing's. Suddenly, she felt that she was not glad. She answered Gu Lingqing's call. "Did you not sleep enough during the day?" Gu Lingqing asked, his tone was heavy, as if he was depressed. Baiya did not understand what Gu Lingqing meant at first, and subconsciously looked out of the window. She met Gu Lingqing's eagle-like eyes, and guessed that Gu Lingqing saw her leaning on Ling Qiuzuan's shoulder, so she explained, "It won't happen again." "Wake up," Gu Lingqing said in a direct and commanding tone. Baiya felt very guilty, as if she had done something bad and was found out. "I got it." She hung up the phone. The light was green. "Boyfriend checking up on me?" Ling Qiuzuan asked, glancing at Baiya from the corner of his eyes. "Mr. Lang likes to be nosy," Baiya said, leaning back on the chair. "Didn't you say that you don't have a boyfriend?" "I don't know how women like you lie," Ling Qiuzuan said coldly. "What I think has nothing to do with you," Baiya said bluntly. Ling Qiuzuan was furious, and he kicked the chair in front of him. Ling Qiuzuan's assistant was sitting in the chair in front of him. The assistant's face turned pale. She knew that Mr. Lang did not like people criticizing him, so she immediately explained, Mr. Lang never likes to be nosy. Mr. Lang is very responsible, maybe because Ms. Bai is a member of the team, so he cares a little more. Bai did not want to fight with Ling Qiuzuan. After all, they still had to solve the case together, so she stopped while she was ahead. She changed the topic and asked the police officer who was driving, how much longer until we arrive? More than half an hour. To be honest, you guys are really bold. There is one more thing that our director didn't tell you. In 2007, a creepy thing happened in this castle, the police officer said. What creepy thing? Baya asked. Chapter 171. People used to hear a woman's voice in the castle. Sometimes, it sounded like she was doing that kind of thing. Sometimes, it sounded like someone who had been abused and was screaming hysterically. Sometimes, it sounded like she was crying. Sometimes, it was a creepy laugh, like a female ghost, the policeman said. Ling Qiuzuan's assistant shuddered. He was afraid. Don't say any more. I wasn't afraid at first, but after hearing you say that, I'm afraid too. Did this happen before or after the disappearance of the young man? Baya asked calmly. It should be around the same time. The group of children heard the rumor that the castle was haunted, so they went in to take a risk. I didn't expect them to all die. The only one alive has gone mad, the policeman sighed. How many young men went in? Baya asked. 3. 2 are missing. We searched the entire castle, but we didn't find anyone. Did you find any blood on the ground? Ling Qiuzuan asked suspiciously. The policeman shook his head. No. That's why that place became a ghost castle. No one dares to go near it. That ghost castle is so dangerous. Why didn't they tear it down? Assistant Lang complained. That castle is a non-material cultural heritage, the policeman explained. How is that possible? I've seen the castle before. It's European style. How did it become a non-material cultural heritage? Assistant Lang was confused. There's a legend about the castle. Back then, there was an emperor who hired a foreign artist called Lang Shining. He was an expert in architecture. There was a very rich eunuch in the palace. When he was about to retire, he spent a lot of money to buy a blueprint from Lang Shining. That eunuch was from Pingyan. After he returned, he built a castle in Pingyan. Legend has it that there are many treasures in the palace. However, many people went in to look for them, but they couldn't find them, the policeman explained. It's been so long. It should have collapsed by now. Why is the castle still standing? Assistant Lang asked suspiciously. The owner of the castle has been renovated many times. Strangely enough, the owner of the castle most likely died a mysterious death. Later, the country took over the house and made it an intangible cultural heritage. It is still preserved now. After the police officer finished speaking, Assistant Lang finally understood. He turned around and asked Ling Qiuzuan in fear, is there really a ghost in this castle? Ling Qiuzuan curled his lips and said coldly, you don't have to go if you're afraid. When he said this, he looked at Baya. Can I really not go? Assistant Lang asked. She really didn't dare to go. That's fine. Ling Qiuzuan replied indifferently. Then I won't go. Assistant Lang said with a hollow laugh. Detective Bai, if you're afraid and don't want to go, you can choose not to go. Ling Qiuzuan deliberately provoked him. Baya really didn't want to be looked down upon by him. I didn't say I was afraid. Assistant Lang got out of the car at the entrance of an express hotel on the road. The carriage arrived at the castle gate. It was pitch black, and there were no street lights around the castle. Are there lights in the castle? Baya asked the police officer. There are lights, but because no one has lived here for a long time, the power has been out for a long time. There seems to be a generator inside, but I'm not sure if it's still working, the police officer explained. Baya furrowed her eyebrows. Wouldn't that mean that she would be in the dark? There was an uncontrollable fear in her heart. Unknowingly, Gu Lingqing had walked behind Bai Ye and held her waist. He said in a low voice, "Don't be afraid." Bai Ye looked up at Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing had already moved his gaze away and let go of her waist. He said to Ling Qiuzuan, "Your men stay in the car first. We'll go in and turn on the generator before you go in." As soon as he finished speaking, he led his men in. Ling Qiuzuan stood in front of Bai Ye and watched Gu Lingqing's disappearing figure. He said thoughtfully, "The people in the military are really swift and decisive. It's their responsibility," Bai Ye added. Ling Qiuzuan looked back at Bai Ye and asked suspiciously, "You admire soldiers?" "They deserve our admiration," Bai Ye said without hiding it. "Is it them or him?" "You know Mr. Gu, right?" Ling Qiuzuan guessed. Bai Ye felt that this Ling Qiuzuan was really smart. He really lived up to his reputation. He had very keen observation and insight. Bai Ye didn't answer him directly. "Let's compete to see who can find the murderer first." Ling Qiuzuan turned around in disdain. The castle was lit up. But because of the age, many places still had those light bulbs from the 1980s, and the light they emitted was very weak. Ling Qiuzuan led the rest of his men in. As soon as Bai Ye stepped into the castle, a chilly wind with a moldy smell came to her nose. There was also a bad smell in the moldy smell, and she couldn't tell what it was. "Everyone pick a room to stay in," Ling Qiuzuan said, his eyes on Bai Ye with a provocative look. Bai Ye couldn't be bothered with him. She looked around the hall and asked Xiao Wang beside her, "Which room did the victim die in?" "The first floor, the one beside the stairs," Xiao Wang said. Bai Ye looked at the room beside the stairs. There seemed to be some shadows floating in the room. She couldn't help but hold her breath. Her heart was in her throat, and she stared at the door of the room and slowly walked over. "Hey," Ling Qiuzuan suddenly said, and it was especially loud in the quiet room. Bai Ye was shocked. She held her heart and screamed. Gu Lingqing rushed out of the room beside the stairs and ran to Bai Ye immediately. He asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" Bai Ye came back to her senses. She knew who made that sound. She looked at Ling Qiuzuan angrily. "Are you crazy? Why are you scaring me?" "I thought you were brave, but you're just a paper tiger. I'm taking the room beside the stairs." "No one can take it from me," Ling Qiuzuan said arrogantly. Bai Ye was too weak to complain about him, so she simply ignored him. She looked at Gu Lingqing and asked, "Did you find anything inside?" Gu Lingqing shook his head. "There's no secret door, nothing special. It's just an ordinary bed, a table, and 3 walls. There are no windows. I want to look at other rooms. Can you accompany me?" Bai Ye asked. Gu Lingqing saw that her face was pale from fear and had yet to recover. He couldn't bear it and nodded. "You need someone to accompany you just to look at a room. What a coward. You're so timid. You shouldn't have come." "But maybe you have ulterior motives," Ling Qiuzuan said in a strange tone. Bai Ye couldn't understand why he always picked on her. Gu Lingqing glanced at Ling Qiuzuan. His eyes darkened. He hugged Bai Ye's waist and pulled her to his side. He said meaningfully, "Actually, I have ulterior motives too." Chapter 172. Bai Ye looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. She did not expect Gu Lingqing to say something like that. He seemed to be targeting Ling Qiuzuan on purpose. Moreover, there was a hint of ambiguity in his words that made her heart skip a beat. It made her feel that he was interested in her. "Don't you have a girlfriend, Mr. Gu?" "I'm afraid this saying is not suitable for you," Ling Qiuzuan said sarcastically. "You also know that I have a girlfriend. It's not appropriate to use this saying to describe Detective Bai," Gu Lingqing retorted. Ling Qiuzuan was speechless. He actually had nothing to say to that. Bai Ye could tell that he was deliberately standing up for her. To be honest, she felt that Ling Qiuzuan was sharp-tongued. She had been angry with Ling Qiuzun a few times, but she never got the upper hand. With Gu Lingqing's help, it was easy to trick Ling Qiuzun. Gu Lingqing's ability to trick people was probably invincible in the world. Baya could not help but give him a thumbs up. The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. How boring. Ling Qiuzun turned and walked to the second floor. Let's take a look at the kitchen first, Baya said. Gu Lingqing held her hand. His palm was very warm. She did not feel afraid when he held her hand. Although she knew that this was not right, she did not pull her hand away. The two of them walked into the kitchen. The kitchen was very big. There were 6 burrows in the stove, which could fit 6 pots. It was obvious that the owner of this castle used to be very luxurious and many people lived in this castle. Gu Lingqing opened the lids of the pots. The pots had not been used for a long time and were rusty. There were spider webs inside, but there were no spiders. Baya looked inside the burrows. There were some black clumps of dust. Due to the passage of time, the dust had hardened. Gu Lingqing removed the dust from the 6 pots in a sealed bag and wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the bag. Baya looked at him. He explained to Baya, when we get back, I'll get the forensics department to check if these ashes are from the same period, and what period they were from. Baya smiled. Can you tell what period it is? If it could be tested, would antique ashes be worth anything? Gu Lingqing smiled as well. He felt that although Baya looked cold, the blood in her bones was warm. I didn't expect you to be such a money grubber. Just ask me how much money you want, Gu Lingqing said dotingly. Baya's heart raced as she lowered her head. He looked at her beautiful figure, lowered his head, and kissed her on the lips. Baya stepped back reflexively. Others will see it. Gu Lingqing held her waist and looked at her deeply. So what? Su Shaoling, Song Shiyu, and Gu Tianheng flashed through Baya's mind. She felt a faint pain in her pinky finger. Don't be so overbearing. Baya couldn't control her tone. It sounded like she was complaining and disdainful at the same time. Gu Lingqing looked at her with a burning gaze. The two of them were in a stalemate. She pushed him away, but he didn't move. Footsteps sounded outside the door. Gu Lingqing let go of her and took a step back. Little Wang ran to the kitchen. Detective Bai, Mr. Lang wants you to go over. Baya thought that Ling Qiuzun had found something. She followed Little Wang out and went to the first room next to the staircase. Someone used to stay in this room before, Ling Qiuzun deduced. Baya looked around the room and walked to the window. The window was closed, but there were Boston ivy on the window, so she couldn't see outside. How did you know? Ling Qiuzun locked Baya and said leisurely, intuition. Baya was speechless. She resisted the urge to roll her eyes and walked out of the room. She looked at the ground and an idea flashed in her mind. Gu Lingqing walked up the stairs at a leisurely pace. Every step he took was heavier than usual. Mr. Gu. What did you call me? Gu Lingqing was not satisfied with this form of address. Baya was in a difficult position. He was like a newborn calf who was not afraid of tigers. He didn't know what happened between them in the past. She didn't dare to expose their dark relationship. She might as well ignore the way he addressed her. Maybe someone used to live here. There's no dust on the ground. It doesn't seem logical. This is a remote area. No cars pass by here. The house is sealed and protected by a layer of Boston ivy. Naturally, there won't be much dust coming in. Your judgment is not accurate. Ling Qiuzun walked out and refuted. But this place has been here for a long time. It will fall off naturally. Look at the ceiling. Baya pointed at the high ceiling on the 3rd floor. The lights fell down vertically. Perhaps because the ceiling was too high, it was pitch black above and they couldn't see clearly. Baya turned on the flashlight on her phone and shone it at the ceiling. Gu Lingqing, help me. The words Gu Lingqing naturally slipped out of her mouth without any warning. Gu Lingqing looked at his subordinate with satisfaction and gestured to him. His subordinate took out a military flashlight from his backpack. It had a long range and was especially bright. It shone towards the ceiling. The ceiling looked like it was made of wood. It was triangular and not painted. Baya frowned and flipped through the photos. She looked at the castle, then looked around and looked at the photos of the castle again. She pointed at the top of the castle and asked Gu Lingqing, "What do you think this triangular top is made of?" "Green brick." "What's wrong?" Gu Lingqing asked, puzzled. "In other words, there's wood under the green brick. If the green brick leaks, the wood will mold, right? Look at the wood. Is it wood? Or fake wood?" Baya looked at the ceiling suspiciously. "Usually, lime powder, cement, or asphalt are used under the green brick to make it waterproof," Gu Lingqing said. He took the photos from Baya's hands and compared them with the built-in ones. His eyes narrowed. If Baya hadn't reminded him, he wouldn't have noticed the problem. Now he knew where the breakthrough was. "Baya, I've always suspected that there was a basement in this place. When the 3 teenagers came in, they were probably tied up there. One of them escaped, but the other 2 couldn't be found. Now I think I know where the secret room is," Gu Lingqing said. Baya pointed at the ceiling. "The secret room is not below, but on the roof." Gu Lingqing nodded. The people who came to check were deceived by their habitual thinking and eyes. There should be somewhere that leads to the roof. Leng Qiuzuan listened to their judgment and took the photos from Gu Lingqing's hands. He could see it now. Knock on the ceilings of all the rooms on the 2nd floor. When you hear empty sounds, use weapons to pry them open. That won't work. "I think I know where the entrance is," Gu Lingqing said and led the way. Leng Qiuzuan looked at Gu Lingqing's back and narrowed his eyes. He was very unhappy. Gu Lingqing walked to the room at the end and let his phone take the escalator. He went up and pushed open the door at the end. Baya was very surprised. "How did you know that the entrance is here?" "I studied architecture and space. I compared the exterior with the interior and used the logic of the structure," Gu Lingqing said simply. "Is Mr. Gu in charge of building buildings in the military?" Leng Qiuzuan asked sarcastically. Chapter 173. Baya. "Don't come up," Gu Lingqing said solemnly. He scanned the situation inside and his eyes became sharper and sharper. Baya was puzzled. "What's wrong? What's up there?" "I told you not to go up, so don't go up. You talk too much nonsense." Leng Qiuzuan pushed Baya away and went up the escalator. He had a lot of experience in solving cases, and when he saw the scene inside, his face was also very ugly. Little Wang followed him up the escalator. Not long after, he quickly came down the escalator and supported himself against the wall to have sex. Baya wanted to go up, but 2 of Gu Lingqing's men stopped Baya. "Sir told you not to go up." "I'm not afraid," Baya said and was about to go up. Leng Qiuzuan came down from the escalator and called the police. Gu Lingqing also jumped down from above. "What's the situation?" Baya asked Gu Lingqing. "I took a quick look just now. There should be 6 bodies on it," Gu Lingqing explained. 6. Shouldn't there be 2 of them? I'll go up and take a look. Gu Lingqing held Baya's arm. "We found the body. Let's use DNA to determine who it is and see if we can find out the time of death. Let's go back to the hotel and reorganize the case. Are you worried that I can't see the body?" "Don't worry. When I was abroad, I came into contact with dissection. I won't be afraid." Baya wanted to go up and take a look. "I advise you not to go up," Leng Qiuzuan warned after the call ended. "I want to go up. I used to be a doctor. What kind of blood haven't I seen?" Baya insisted. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya. She was not only cold, arrogant, but also stubborn. I'll go with you. Gu Lingqing took the military flashlight from his subordinate, adjusted the shape of the speed of light, and placed it in the middle of the secret room. The secret room was suddenly brightly lit. Baya prepared himself mentally and climbed up the escalator. There was some distance between the escalator and the entrance. Gu Lingqing reaches out to her. For a moment, Baya recalled the past. That was how he held out his hand to her. This time, she wanted to go alone. She didn't hold Gu Lingqing's hand and climbed up by herself. Gu Lingqing's face was a little pale. She saw that there were many glass jars in the secret room. Looking from near the exit, the largest glass tank was as tall as a person. There was a yellowish-brown liquid inside, as well as a naked man and woman. Baya looked at the woman's face. Gu Lingqing, that woman is the one in the video. Gu Lingqing recognized it at first glance. He was worried that Baya would be afraid, so he hugged Baya's waist and said softly, "I will always be by your side." She was not afraid. She had seen this many times in the laboratory. She had seen much bloodier scenes in the United States. However, she didn't pull Gu Lingqing's hand away. She looked at the people in the glass tanks and analyzed. The woman had injuries on her body, neck, and limbs. Her private parts had been injected with something like a foaming agent. She was tortured to death and placed in a glass jar. If we're lucky, we might still be able to find it in her body. If we are lucky, we might find male DNA in her body. The man's face is bruised and swollen. His eyes are wide open, and his abdomen is bulging. He was thrown into the glass tank when he was alive. She looked at the two glass tanks next to her. They were the dismembered bodies of a man and a woman. In the last terrarium was a woman and a newborn baby. The murderer is very cruel, Baya judged. Let's go down. In a while, the police will come over to take photos. We can study the details of the photos, Gu Lingqing said. Baya nodded. Did you notice? This secret room looks very clean. This should be the scene of the crime. The forensics department will find more clues and evidence here. By the way, Gu Lingqing, I remember that the ceiling is triangular, but this place is indeed flat. Could there be a compartment? Baya guessed. You and I have the same thought. I also guessed that there is a compartment. We'll let the police handle it later. Gu Lingqing went down the escalator first. Baya climbed down carefully. Before she reached the ground, Gu Lingqing carried her and placed her on the ground. He actually carried her in front of so many eyes. Baya's heart raced, but she quickly calmed down. Ling Qiuzuan looked at Baya's calm expression. You're not afraid? Are you still a woman? Weren't you afraid when you scared her on purpose? Gu Lingqing retorted. Why are you always protecting her? Ling Qiuzuan was displeased. I think it's the same reason why you keep picking on her. Gu Lingqing threw the question at him casually. Ling Qiuzuan was speechless. He crossed his arms and looked at the Patek Philippe watch on his wrist. He said to Gu Lingqing coldly, It's already 2:20 in the morning. It will take about an hour for the police to arrive. There's important evidence here, and it needs to be guarded by my team. Do you want to come down, or do you want your team to stay? Gu Lingqing looked at Ling Qiuzuan deeply. My team can stay. Mr. Leng can go back and rest. Then I'll leave this place to you. Baya, let's go. Ling Qiuzuan turned around and walked down the stairs. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing, nodded, and followed behind Ling Qiuzuan. Gu Lingqing held her arm and said in a low voice, Send me the name and room number of the hotel when you check in. Baya, why did she have a feeling that he would find her in the middle of the night? I'll go first. She did not answer him directly. She had a feeling that if this went on, their affair would be exposed. She did not dare to expose it. Moreover, she did not know whether Gu Lingqing cared about her because she was useful for him to recover his memory or for other reasons. She was really afraid of falling in the same place again. Baya went out of the castle and got into the car. The four of them sat in the same car. Baiya and Ling Qiuzuan sat in the back. She was about to close her eyes and rest when Ling Qiuzuan suddenly turned around and put his hand next to her, enveloping her in his arms. Baiya was shocked and pressed against his chest. "What are you doing?" Ling Qiuzuan narrowed his eyes. "Are you very attractive?" Baiya guessed that he was talking about Gu Lingqing, and her face blushed slightly. She did not want her relationship with Gu Lingqing to be exposed. Ling Qiuzuan was too observant. "I've been married, divorced, and even had a child. I have no confidence in love, and I don't want to be in a relationship. No matter how many women there are, they are all rotten ones to me." "Then you should regulate your behavior. Don't be like a butterfly, showing off everywhere." Ling Qiuzuan returned to his seat and frowned again. He looked at Baiya. "You've really had a child before?" "Yeah." Baiya did not deny it. "She's an old woman." Ling Qiuzuan muttered to himself. Baiya, she checked into the hotel, took a shower, and saw Gu Lingqing sitting on the sofa in her room. Baiya, you're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.